The men of the Ning family suffer from a heat poison. The first woman they give themselves to is the only one who can detoxify it for the rest of their lives, so when Ning Yang came to propose, I agreed without a second thought. Unexpectedly, on our wedding night, he discovered that I was not a virgin and humiliated me in every possible way for years. In bed, he kept forcing me to tell him who that man was. "You hypocritical bad woman, you ruined my whole life." I felt wronged back then. It was clearly he who kept pestering me for romantic favors, saying that when he came to propose, I must agree. So why is he refusing to admit it now? Until today, the ailing young master of the Ning family returned, and he was Ning Yang's twin brother. Only then did I realize. So it turned out I really wasn't falsely accused after all. 1. It was rumored that the Ning family's ancestor was a famously heartless philanderer, handsome and talented. The number of women he had wronged in his lifetime was countless. And he never knew repentance. Later, he provoked a reclusive woman and was coaxed into falling in love with her. Unexpectedly, she truly had the ability and placed a bloodline curse on him, becoming the founding ancestress of the Ning family. From then on, every male of the Ning family was born with a heat poison. Even if they were exceptionally handsome and brilliant, they could only find one woman in their entire lives to cure the poison. As a result, they had no choice but to remain chaste and choose very carefully. I was the wife carefully chosen by Ning Yang, the eldest son of the Ning family. On the day the Ning family came to propose, all the women in the capital were filled with envy. Even my mother, who used to say every day that she could never count on me, said I was really lucky. I thought so too at the time. Ning Yang not only looked handsome, but he also kept his word. That night he said he would come to propose, and less than half a month later, he really did. But I didn't expect that on our wedding night. After Ning Yang consummated the marriage with me, he seemed like a different person. "You are not a virgin." I was momentarily stunned. I didn't quite understand what he meant. Hadn't I already been with him? Of course not. What do you mean by that? Ning Yang was struck as if by lightning. You, ignoring the tenderness from just moments ago, he shoved me aside and muttered to himself in a daze. I've guarded my body for so long, and I actually gave it to a woman like you." Though I wasn't sure what was going on, I could at least tell that he was angry with me. "Husband." Ning Yang suddenly stood up and would not let me touch him anymore, not even the slightest corner of his clothes. "Shenlingyu, I really didn't expect you to be this kind of woman. I must have been unlucky to have met you." He coldly abandoned me on our wedding night, but by the 7th day, he came back on his own. In the middle of the night, he climbed through the window into my room and, with his clothes disheveled, knelt down beside my bed. "Are you? Save me." He clutched my wrist and refused to let go. His body was burning hot, and he kept rubbing against me like a dog. "I'm begging you." That pitiful look reminded me of the first time I saw him. It was truly tempting. I'm not one to hold grudges, so I helped him, but once he recovered, he turned on me again. "If it weren't for my illness, I wouldn't want to touch you." I froze for a moment, then pulled up the blanket to cover myself. He seemed to be serious about saying he didn't like me. Understood. He was slightly startled, turned his face away, and said nothing more. But that body of Ning Yang's was not under his own control. No matter how much he loathed me or hated me, when the time came, he would still come to be with me. I was spineless too. Every time I saw how pitiful he looked, I forgave him again and again. Later, as time went on, Ning Yang might have thought things through and simply stopped waiting until he had an episode. He would come whenever he wanted. He said this was my duty as his wife. I didn't argue either, but in bed, he always pressed me. "Who was your first man?" How could I have the mind to think about that? "It was you." I looked straight at his face and confessed, "I really only have you." It was the dead of winter then. I was at a temple in Jiangnan, offering candlelight before the Buddha. Outside the threshold, snow fell in flurries. Some young master, no one knew where he had come from, crawled into the hall in utter disarray and knelt before me, begging me to save his life. He introduced himself as being from the Ning family of the capital, saying that he would surely come to propose marriage in the future. "Miss, I'm sure you know the Ning family bloodline is special. If you save me, I'll be yours for life." In the dead of night, with the lights dim and hazy, if a handsome and faithful man crawls up beside you, he's either a ghost or a god. I was wary, but he kept a tight grip on my skirt sash, looking up at me with utter devotion. "Miss, to save one life is better than offering incense before 10,000 Buddhas. What I prayed to the Buddha for was a good marriage. That was why I risked my life to save him. But when Ning Yang came to propose, he said I was unchaste. Me. Ning Yang pinched my chin, looking at me with a half-smile. Madam, your heart is truly cold and hard. Even after being married to me for years, you still won't tell me who the adulterer is. I was beyond wronged. Had he really forgotten that night, or was he refusing to admit it, just to humiliate me? Ning Yang, if you won't admit it, then forget it. You still want me to admit it, he said, growing even angrier, gripping my cheeks hard. I gave myself to you honorably and cleanly, and I'll only ever be yours from now on. And you, the moment you close your eyes, you can think of someone else. He was simply beyond reason. I was just thinking about the past, but that was him too. Later, I grew annoyed by his questioning and didn't bother explaining. I just let him be. Ning Yang became even more unpredictable, sometimes angry and furious. I wanted to find someone who loved me and spend my life well, but you ruined me. Sometimes self-destructive and giving up on herself. Don't ever touch me again, just let me die. Then, anyway, you're dying for me to die so you can relive old dreams with someone else once I'm gone. Sometimes suspicious and paranoid. Who exactly is it? One of the servants in the manor, a guard, or the coachman? You even went to Jiangnan. Could it be some handsome monk? Say something. Why won't you say anything? I felt that, sooner or later, either he or I would go crazy. I finally couldn't take it anymore. If that's the case, let's get a divorce. The person who had been going mad just moments ago fell silent in an instant. What did you say? Divorce? Ning Yang stared at me in a daze, his eyes gradually turning red. You want to divorce me? Aren't you just telling me to go die? Only then did I belatedly realize one thing. Although Ning Yang was dramatic and made a fuss, he could not leave me, but the words had already been spoken, and I didn't know how to backtrack. I wanted to apologize, but Ning Yang stretched out a finger and pressed it against my lips, as if afraid I might say anything else. I was wrong. He lowered his head and spoke in a hushed voice, as if it were hard to say. I won't dare again. Please don't divorce me. Reluctantly, he said each word with deliberate slowness. Please, forgive me. I have nothing to say. She even felt a little sorry for him. Aside from somehow losing his memory, he was indeed a good man. Ning Yang put aside his pride and treated me well for a few days. Not knowing which nerve had kicked in again, he suddenly held me tight and refused to let go that night. Let's have a child. I don't think his reason for wanting a child is very pure. Your illness means you can't do without me. How would I have time to have a child? Ning Yang leaned over and kissed me. It's fine. It's only 10 months, isn't it? I can endure it. Their family's illness is hereditary. When it strikes, the heart races, the internal organs feel as if they are burning, and the pain is unbearable. If he cannot find that girl, he will have to endure such agony all by himself. If he touches another woman at this time, not only will the symptoms remain unresolved, but his skin will feel as if it is being pricked by needles. It is said that back then, the Ning family's ancestor came to hate that ancestress to the core. Because of this, however, the descendants of the Ning family were all very grateful to her. While my body is still in decent shape now, if I wait until later to have another child, I won't be able to endure this illness any longer. I was still hesitating. Ning Yang leaned in close to my ear and spoke to me in a wronged, coaxing tone. Are you unwilling to bear me children? I followed you clean and above board. Can't you give me even a little in return? Too, he married her openly and legitimately, and wanting a child was not an unreasonable wish. I agreed. Unfortunately, the one born was a son, Ning Yang said dejectedly, another money-losing burden. It hasn't been long since I finished my confinement, and he already sent our son to be raised by his mother. Before it was even dark, he had me lured into bed. He was simply desperate for me. I saw the red marks left on his wrist by the restraints, and figured he must have suffered quite a bit. Does it still hurt? It hurts. And you didn't even come to see me. I really thought I was going to die. He was exaggerating. The Ning family's physicians all knew the ailments of his household well. Although they could not cure the pain, they could at least ensure he wouldn't die. In the past, his grandfather and father had also gotten through this ordeal. Even so, I still gathered my courage and said, "You won't die. If you really do, I'll definitely save you." Ning Yang froze for a moment, then withdrew his wrist and said somewhat awkwardly, "Then if something happens to both me and that adulterer at the same time, which one would you save?" I smiled and shoved him. Your old habit is acting up again. Why bring this up? Ning Yang, however, remained expressionless, not moving at all. After a long while, he finally said in a restrained voice, "Can't you even say, 'Please save me'?" I was taken aback. Ning Yang took hold of my hands and pushed me down onto the bed. Just how much did you like that bitch back then, to let him climb into your bed? This man was truly capricious. Ning Yang, you really turned against me just like that. He narrowed his eyes slightly. I didn't turn against you, but his hand grew even stronger. I'm only humbly begging you to tell poor me who it was that seduced you into throwing yourself into his arms. Why are you still protecting him? He was so close to me that there was only a hair's breadth between us. Are you? Confess. And you'll be treated leniently. Take me to kill that man, and I'll never be angry with you again. I felt wrong too, and my eyes turned red. They already said it. It was you. It was you. Why must you torment me like this? Ning Yang let go at the sight of this. It's you who's tormenting me. I sat up and swore to the heavens. I, Shenling Yu, swear here and now that if I ever have another man besides you, may I be struck by divine lightning. Before I could finish, thunder rolled like a roar from the heavens. Terrified, I dared not say another word and quickly burrowed into Ning Yang's arms. Why is even heaven wronging me? He let out a quiet sigh and lowered his head to embrace me. What I said is true. I clearly hadn't done anything wrong, yet I still felt awful inside. Then how about I kiss you again, and you stop being angry with me? Ning Yang lowered his eyes to stare at me, unable to help letting out a soft laugh. You bad woman, you sure know how to sweet talk people. He and I kept at it until midnight. Ning Yang urged me to go to sleep early. After all, we would have to entertain guests tomorrow, and I was afraid it would be tiring. I remember, tomorrow is the day my younger brother Ning Chen returns. I turned over to look at him. How is your relationship with him? Born of the same mother, I became an official, while he went into business. He should have come back when I got married, but I heard he was so ill that he missed it. Then why is he coming back now? He's not young anymore. He's coming back to discuss a marriage. Ning Yang covered my eyes with one hand. Stop asking about it and go to sleep. I was utterly exhausted and soon fell asleep. For some reason, I dreamed once again of what had happened at the temple back then on a snowy night. I shivered from the cold. I lifted my neck and met the compassionate face of the Buddha statue, then looked away in shame. Don't be afraid, you're my bodhisattva too. At that time, Ning Yang's voice seemed somewhat different from the way it sounded later. I didn't dare look at him. Are you really a man of the Ning family? He lifted my face in his hands and stared at me. He opened his mouth, but his voice was extremely muffled. Sister, I'm from the Ning family. My name is Ning. I suddenly woke up. Ning Yang sat by the bedside, staring at me coldly. Madam, who are you dreaming of? Look at you. Your face is all red, I said softly. No one. Ning Yang's expression darkened, and he got up and left. After lunch, I stood with my mother-in-law, Madam Ning, waiting outside for the second young master of the Ning family to return. Since ancient times, mothers have always doted on their youngest sons. Madam Ning was no exception. She asked me, since I knew the day my younger brother was coming home, why Ning Yang had not taken leave to stay at home. My husband said that there would be nothing going on at court today and he would be back early. She glanced at me indifferently. You're so soft-tempered that you can't even keep a man under control. Useless. I didn't dare make a sound. Madam Ning dotes on her younger son and is estranged from her elder son, so she forced Ning Yang to marry early, hoping to keep him firmly under her control. When I first married into the family, she even taught me how to tame a husband, but clearly, I wasn't capable of that. I couldn't bear to see Ning Yang suffer, and in the end, I let him gain the upper hand time and again. Not long ago, I even heard the servants say that mother-in-law was looking for a wife for Ning Chen, and that she must never again find someone useless like me. I'm just as wronged. Despite marrying into the finest family in the capital, I somehow managed to end up with both my husband and mother-in-law looking down on me. Ning Chen's carriage slowly came into view. I followed behind my mother-in-law, and was quite curious what Ning Chen looked like. After all, according to the rumors, every man in the Ning family was extraordinarily handsome. A hand with jade-like knuckles lifted the carriage curtain. The man bent down and stepped out of the carriage, wrapped in a heavy cloak over white robes. He hurried over and threw himself into his mother-in-law's arms. Mother, I didn't even get a clear look at his face, but this voice was inexplicably familiar. Only when his mother took his hand and turned to introduce me did she say, "This is your sister-in-law, Madam Shen." Only then did he look at me, the corner of his mouth freezing. Our eyes met, and both of us were filled with shock. You actually look almost exactly like Ning Yang." My mother-in-law couldn't be bothered to deal with me. "What, didn't your husband tell you that he and Chen are twins?" My heart pounded wildly. Ning Chen also froze in place, his face turning 3 shades paler as he stared at me in shock and confusion. "Sister-in-law, you are my brother's wife. 3. Are you feverish and delirious?" Mother-in-law reached out to feel Ning Chen's forehead. "Your sister-in-law is Ning Yang's wife, the one you even sent a gift to. Have you forgotten?" Ning Chen looked at me, his body unsteady, his palms clenched tightly. "Hello, sister-in-law. If I had known, I should have come back to congratulate you." My mind was in turmoil. "I heard you were ill at the time. Your health comes first. Your health comes first." Ning Chen gave a wry smile. "Yes, I was sick. I was very ill then, and I couldn't find any medicine." The way he said it was so pitiful that his mother-in-law hurried over to hold him. All right, no more of that. We're going home." The group returned to the manor. As I stepped over the threshold, I nearly fell. It was him, it must be him. The one who told me to wait for him to come and propose must be the second young master, Ning Chen. Only, it just so happened that Ning Yang had also taken a liking to me. I was to blame for being too overjoyed back then. All I saw was my sweetheart arriving as promised. How could I have imagined it wasn't the same person? No wonder Ning Yang tortured me for so many years. So it turns out I really wasn't wronged. It's over. If Ning Yang ever found out, he wouldn't let it go even when it came to someone who didn't even exist. Now that there's actually a person, who knows what kind of uproar he'd make. It's over. No wonder the heavens struck me down. "Shen Lingyu," my mother-in-law called me. "The wet nurse has brought Lina here already. Can't you, as his mother, see him?" I came to my senses. I saw my mother-in-law lift Lina up and bring him over for Ning Chen to look at. "This is your nephew." Ning Chen looked at the baby being held out to him, his expression shifting like storm clouds, yet his voice revealed no emotion. "Even the child has already been born." He looked up at me. I pinched my fingertips tightly and managed a strained smile. My mother-in-law smiled and said, "Envious, your brother is already married. And you, do you have someone you like?" She suddenly leaned close to Ning Chen's ear and asked something I couldn't make out. The roots of Ning Chen's ears turned slightly red, and he unconsciously looked at me. I quickly averted my gaze. Ning Chen pressed his lips together. "Mother, I didn't do it." In an instant, I realized what he was talking about. Sitting there was torture. "That's good, since you haven't been fooling around outside. Then your sister-in-law and I will carefully look around for a match for you." Madam Ning was in an exceptionally good mood. "Thanks to your great-grandmother's blessing, the most sought-after marriage in the capital is into the Ning family. If you don't believe me, ask your sister-in-law. When your brother went to propose back then, she agreed after just one meeting." Ning Chen turned to me upon hearing this. "Is that so, sister-in-law?" I nodded repeatedly in embarrassment. Yes. Madam Ning, seeing how spineless I was, suddenly became dissatisfied again. "Don't ask your sister-in-law. All she does all day is listen to your brother's words." Ning Chen's face turned deathly pale, and he could no longer hold on, so he said he wanted to go back and rest. Lady Ning doted on him so much that she asked me to personally take him to rest. There was truly no way to avoid it. No matter how I tried to hide along the way, Ning Chen followed behind me without saying a word. After leading him to the quarters, the attendants boiled water and made tea, and there was no one else in the room. "Uncle, if there's anything you're dissatisfied with, just have someone let me know." That said, I didn't dare stay any longer. Before I had even stepped out of the inner room, my wrist was seized and I was pulled over in front of him. "What did you call me, uncle?" Ning Chen frowned slightly, his eyes glimmering as his fingertips covered my lips. "Goddess, I've been looking for you for so long. You knew full well about my condition, and yet you turned around and married someone else. How cruel you are." I was truly at a loss for words, and after a long while, I finally forced out a sentence. "I didn't mean it." Ning Chen's gaze froze for a moment. "You didn't mean it. I clearly told you my identity and said I would come to your door to propose. Yet you left Jiangnan in such a hurry and got engaged to your elder brother a few days later." He lowered his head and moved close to me, his voice full of sorrow, as if weeping. "I went crazy looking for you everywhere. when I was sick and close to dying for your sake. What were you doing?" The voice paused for a moment. "Were you keeping my brother company? I'm sorry, I mistook you for someone else. I thought Ning Yang was you." He was slightly taken aback. "But you've already slept with me. How could you not tell me apart from him?" My face darkened with embarrassment, and I said softly, "The candlelight that night was too dim, and I didn't see clearly." Ning Chen let go of me. "Then if that's the case, go back and tell him. Tell him you married the wrong person and have him switch it back." I lowered my head and rubbed my wrist. If I dared go back and say that, Ning Yang would definitely kill me. "No, your brother, he can't live without me." I turned to leave, but he pulled me into a tight embrace from behind. Ning Chen's body was hot to the touch. "Could it be that I can live without you?" A cold dampness spread across the back of my neck. "Both he and I have the same constitution. You feel sorry for him, but not for me." He slowly extended his wrist. The scars on it were too numerous to count, shocking at a glance. "You." My heart clenched. Over the years, with you not by my side, I could only get through life by hurting myself. I thought you had lied to me, and I didn't dare go home. Now that I've finally managed to see you, you saved me back then, and now you want me to die." The two brothers not only looked alike, but even spoke alike. No wonder I couldn't tell them apart. I was utterly torn. "Why you? Your elder brother is not someone to be trifled with." Ning Chen took my hand and pressed it to his chest. "Weren't you originally planning to marry me? He just took my place." He wasn't wrong, but, seeing my hesitation, Ning Chen bit his lip and tested me. "Are you really that afraid of him?" I suddenly pulled my hand back. "It's true. You heard it from your mother too. I'm the kind of person who fears my husband like a tiger. If you want me to confess to him, it's absolutely impossible." I shoved him away and was about to run. "Afraid of your husband like a tiger? Then that makes things even easier." Ning Chen held my waist tightly. "Sister-in-law probably wouldn't want him to know that your first time was with me. Would you?" I turned to look at him, unable to believe it. "How can you say something so despicable?" Ning Chen's expression stiffened, and he let go of my waist. "You're saying I'm despicable? When we spent time together before the Buddha, you promised you would marry me, and now you've abandoned me after seducing me, and you're calling me despicable." A tear spilled from his eye. "When Mother was here just now, I was afraid she would blame you, so I didn't dare say that I had lost my innocence, and you even said I was cheap." He wiped away the tear on her cheek. "Mother will eventually find out about us. The marriage negotiations won't come to anything anyway. I can't touch anyone but you. I'm afraid I won't live much longer, and you still said I was cheap." Madam Ning already didn't like me. If she found out I had ruined her younger son, Ning Chen, I was wrong. He closed his eyes, swallowed back his tears, and lifted my face in his hands, gazing at me with deep affection. "Forget it, don't talk about me. Is he good to you? You care for him so much." I fell into thought. What Ning Yang had done to me could hardly be called good. A voice suddenly came from outside the window. The eldest young master had arrived. I came back to my senses in an instant. "It's Ning Yang." I hurriedly pushed the person in front of me away. Not far behind me, someone pushed the door open and came in, then stopped in their tracks. You, how are you here?" Mother asked me to bring uncle back to rest. He said he didn't like this tea set, and I was just about to take it back and have it exchanged. I made it up on the spot. "Tea set?" Ning Yang walked over and took my hand. "You're not a servant. Mother is always like this." He glanced casually at Ning Chen. "I who doesn't understand these things either. Have someone else take care of it later." Ning Chen stood up and looked at him, saying slowly, "But sister-in-law said she would help me change it." Ning Yang froze. "Then which one do you want to change to?" Ning Chen's gaze dropped, sweeping over our tightly clasped hands. "The one used in my brother's room is very good." Although Ning Yang did not understand, he still ordered someone to fetch it. I quickly said, "I'll go, you two catch up." It was not until midnight that Ning Yang returned, saying that Ning Chen had held on to him and refused to let him go. He even wanted to stay up all night talking with me. "But without you I simply can't sleep." Ning Yang crawled into bed and wrapped himself around me with both arms and legs. "Why aren't you talking to me? Are you tired today, or did Mother say something to you again?" I turned my back to him. "No." Ning Yang lifted the quilt, turned over, and faced me. "You've been acting strange today. What's wrong? Tell me." I met his gaze and hesitated for a moment. "It's nothing, I just have a question. I'm very curious. Your family's condition. Just hypothetically, if that first girl were to disappear, what would happen? Ning Yang looked puzzled. How could a wife just disappear? That's all hypothetical, after all, hypothetical. And it might not even be a wife, I probed softly. What if it's the kind of fleeting romance you see in storybooks, with a long reach? He pulled me into his arms. You really do love making things up. The Ning family motto is that one must not engage in improper relations. If the other party starts it and then abandons them, how would they ever go on living after that? My heart suddenly leaped into my throat. If this kind of thing happens, is there really no way to fix it? Ning Yang said, then we'd have to wait until that person dies. But even after they're dead, they still can't touch other women. That won't do. I cannot die. Ning Yang froze. What? Nothing. I pulled up the blanket, turned over, and said, I'm sleeping. Ning Yang silently pressed closer. You took all the blanket. I'm freezing to death. You say that every time. We should have switched to a bigger blanket long ago. Ning Yang held me tightly. I'm not changing. I fell asleep in a daze in the middle of the night. Someone asked softly by my ear, are you? Your question has made it impossible for me to sleep. You won't leave me, right? I unconsciously let out a The man instantly grew excited and started kissing and licking again, so much so that by the next day, I was still drowsy and sleepy when I went to see my mother-in-law. Ning Chen was also there. As soon as Madame Ning saw me, her face darkened with displeasure. Just keep indulging him and letting him make a mess of things. My face flushed bright red in an instant. It was Ning Chen who stepped in to smooth things over. Mother, don't be angry. If elder brother can find such a considerate wife as sister-in-law, even I'm a little envious. He raised his eyes to look at me, his voice slow. I'm still just worried about her. Forget it. Why are you back? And looking so haggard. She wanted to summon the family physician, but Ning Chen refused no matter what. Mother-in-law had no way to deal with him. Seeing me standing there, she asked why I still hadn't left. Mother, I'd like to take Xiena back. He's been staying with you for over a month now. She looked at me impatiently. Don't you know that the Ning family's children aren't raised by their mothers? I was stunned. Ning Yang, why had he never told me that? Aren't you leaving yet, mother? I want to see Xiena. Madame Ning said nothing at that moment. Ning Chen spoke up instead. I was just thinking of having a look too. I'll accompany sister-in-law. Mother-in-law had only just spoken. Outside the corridor, bamboo leaves rustled, and dappled light skimmed like gold. Ning Chen walked beside me. Sis-in-law, all the men of the Ning family are somewhat lustful. You should rein brother-in-law in a little. My heart pounded wildly. I looked around, and only after seeing that no one was around did I rebuke him. How can you even say something like that? Ning Chen stopped in his tracks and leaned closer, his voice tinged with grievance. Am I not just afraid you'll suffer later on? I glared at him fiercely and turned to run away when they arrived. Xiena had been well cared for and was taking a nap at the moment. Ning Chen had everyone else withdraw. Back then, eldest brother was also raised by grandmother, and I was the only one left by mother's side. Don't blame eldest brother, he simply didn't think that much about it. I turned back to look at him. Thank you. Are you sincerely thanking me, or do you want to keep your distance from me? Of course I'm sincerely thanking you. Ning Chen lowered his head and looked at me, his tone sincere. You know how to thank me. I took half a step back. Ning Chen gripped my wrist. Sister-in-law, you and he are incompatible. The person you like is me. Just as I was about to pull away, he glanced at me, let go on his own, and staggered. You, what's wrong? It hurts. Sister-in-law, he pressed a hand to his chest, his knuckles whitening with the force. I'll go call the doctor. No, he grabbed my sleeve. If people find out, what will you do? I held him in my arms. Then what about you? Ning Chen lay on top of me, speaking weakly, his eyelashes trembling. You won't, then, kiss me. That's fine too. How can that be? Before the words were even finished, one hand wrapped around my waist, a shadow fell over me, and before I could react, he had already lowered his head and kissed me. Shocked suddenly, the cry of a baby rang in my ears. Child, the child is crying. I shoved him away abruptly. Ning Chen makes mistakes quickly, and admits them even faster. Sister-in-law, I was the one who crossed the line. Scold me if you want. He was being so respectful that I had nothing else to say. You should go quickly. I took the opportunity to go in and look at the child before alerting the servants. Ning Chen watched my retreating figure, slowly lowering his gaze, his fingertips brushing the corner of his lips. The wet nurses and servants came in. Second young master, perfect timing. Go help madam. That voice was cool and composed, completely different from before. I turned back to look, but he had already lifted the curtain and gone out the door. 5. Back at the main courtyard, thinking of Ning Chen's kiss, I was still unsettled. What are you daydreaming about? Ning Yang appeared. At some point I stood up in a panic. You're here. Why didn't you tell me back then that the child would be raised elsewhere? Didn't I say so? Seeing me staring at him, he took my hand and said meaningfully, maybe I forgot, but you've already been exhausted taking care of me. So how would you have the time to take care of him? I, however, was unwilling. Mother scolded me again. So tonight you mustn't touch me. Ning Yang toyed with my fingers. Why are you being so obedient to her today? I was left speechless. I can't exactly say that Ning Chen said that to me too, but Ning Yang quickly shifted his attention. Why is your lip rouge smudged like this? He brushed it lightly with the pad of his thumb. What did you sneak and eat? I didn't sneak anything. God, I'm getting a little triggered, thinking to myself that after being kissed by Ning Chen, I had been so lost in a daze that I had actually forgotten to wash up. Maybe it was Shenna who kissed me. I'm going to wash my face. I don't dislike you. But Ning Yang pulled me back, his gaze fervent. If it was kissed by our son, let me taste it too. As soon as he finished speaking, he kissed me. My mind went blank in an instant. That night, I was plagued by all kinds of nightmares for a while. I was back to that night at the Jiangnan temple, when Ning Yang barged in halfway through, sword in hand. Murderous. We might as well die together. Don't you dare be with him. I trembled with fear. If you want to kill him, fine, just don't kill me. In a moment, Ning Chen will be seriously ill, the scandal will come to light, and my mother-in-law will bring people to settle accounts with me. Come and take a look. Who's the most capable woman in our Ning residence? I thought it was me. Heaven curse it, with those thin little arms and legs of yours. You actually slept with both my sons. Oh my heavens, is this for real? I hurriedly knelt down. I really didn't do it on purpose. Who told them to all look so alike? In the blink of an eye, Ning Chen and Ning Yang squeezed back in front of me. Ning Yang coldly lifted my chin. Are you? Look closely. Are we really that hard to tell apart? Ning Chen's fingertips traced over my brows and eyes. Do you have a blind eye, sister-in-law? I looked closely and realized that both of them weren't wearing pants. I turned and ran wildly, only to run into 2 children. Mother, do we look alike too? I still hadn't recognized him when the boy beside him had already started smacking his head. Idiot, how many times have I taught you? You're supposed to call her auntie. I could no longer stand and fell backward. No, don't. I jolted upright, drenched in cold sweat. Everything before me was pitch black. Suddenly, someone embraced me from the side. What's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? I gave a startled shiver. Ning Yang gently patted my back. Don't be afraid, I'm here. My heart kept racing as I threw myself into his arms. From then on, I didn't even leave the courtyard anymore. Occasionally, when I ran into Ning Chen, I never spent time alone with him. But the Ning residence was never at peace. Mother-in-law held several flower banquets and invited the young ladies from aristocratic families. I couldn't avoid the social obligations either. Several times during them, Ning Chen dragged me into the rockery. Sis-in-law, 1 kiss and you were scared away, he said, pinning me in place. Then what about the even more excessive things we've done? I can only coax him. Whatever you do, don't tell your brother. At worst, I'll let you kiss me. He'll find out sooner or later. Ning Chen got angry and kissed even harder. I had no choice but to pin all these marks on my infant son. Ning Yang was also helpless, so good at biting. Luckily you don't need to nurse him. Otherwise with this place. He looked up at me and complained. Would I have to eat whatever he leaves behind too? My face flushed with guilt, my heart racing, and I pressed down on his head with both hands. Don't talk nonsense. There were indeed quite a few women in the capital willing to marry into the Ning family, but Ning Chen didn't take a liking to any of them. His mother then had Ning Yang go and sound her out. Ning Yang had only gone for a short while before coming back, his face extremely grim. What's wrong? I helped him undress. Ning Yang glanced at me and was silent for a long moment. I asked him what kind he liked, and he actually said he liked someone like you. Ning Yang looked adorable even when he was angry. Someone like you, where am I supposed to find another? My hands paused slightly. Uncle was just joking. What's so good about me? Ning Yang lowered his head and held me in his arms. You're very good, so good that others can't help but envy you. My face grew slightly warm. Ning Yang stared straight at me. For some reason, inspiration struck him. But if you weren't married yet, would you like Ning Chen? I was momentarily at a loss for words. Of course not. Ning Yang looked at me steadily. Really? I nodded vigorously. Really? I like you. Ning Yang's eyes curved with a smile. He leaned close to my ear and said softly, "At night I bought new clothes. I'll wear them for you to see." He kissed my cheek, the kind you mentioned. I immediately realized what he was talking about. It was something I had seen in old storybooks before, and I begged him to play with me. But Ning Yang only glanced at it and said it was too humiliating, refusing no matter what, and now he was actually willing. My eyes lit up, and I was already calculating in my mind. Although I had mistaken him for someone else back then, I did indeed like him more. But just then, a servant hurried over to report that Ning Chen had fallen ill. Ning Yang frowned. What illness? The servant stammered. It seems like that kind of illness. I panicked for a moment, and the outer robe in my hand fell to the ground. Ning Yang no longer had time to care about the clothes, and he pulled me along to go see Ning Chen before we even stepped inside. I heard my mother-in-law cursing. You're already in this state, and you're still lying to me. Tell me, who exactly did this to you? I'll go demand an explanation from her. I really wanted to run away, but Ning Yang forcibly dragged me in. Seeing that we had arrived, mother-in-law became even more agitated. If you're embarrassed to tell me, then tell your brother and sister-in-law. They'll go find the person for you. Ning Chen was no longer as dashing and elegant as usual. His hands and feet tightly bound, cold sweat soaking the hair at his temples. Just looking at him made my heart ache. Ning Chen subconsciously looked at me, making me hold my breath in fright. She's gone. I don't know her. Don't look for her anymore. I gently pressed my lips together. Madam Ning wiped away her tears. How can we not look for her? The doctor said that if you keep this up, you won't live much longer. Hurry and tell us. Where are you from? Ning Yang sat down beside Ning Chen. Tell your brother what's going on between her and you. Ning Chen gave me a subtle glance. When I was doing business in Jiangnan, I once stayed at a temple. I was drugged by someone with ill intentions and fled to the Buddhist hall, where I met her. Temple. The first time didn't even have a bed. You're way too casual. Ning Yang's words were inexplicably harsh. I wasn't being casual. Ning Chen cut him off. I told her I'd marry her. She likes me very much, and she agreed. I suddenly felt at a loss. Ning Yang stood up and looked at him coldly. What good is a verbal promise? The Ning family has a family rule. Only consummate the marriage on the wedding night. You acted in such a shameless way. You should have long ago expected to be deceived. Ning Chen suddenly flew into a fit of shame and anger. Get out. All of you, get out. My mother-in-law hurriedly said to let him calm down, and was about to take us away, but Ning Chen called me back again. Sister-in-law, stay. My heart skipped a beat. Why is he calling my name in front of everyone? Ning Yang stood in front of me, his expression blank. What do you want to do? Ning Chen held on with his last bit of weak breath. What can I do? Sister-in-law is also a woman. I want to ask her whether I was really deceived. Ning Yang confronted him for a while, but in the end he still stepped aside. The door was closed. I hurried over and supported Ning Chen. Are you all right? Why is it so serious? I reached out to touch his forehead. Would kissing you still help? Just as I was about to take the initiative to kiss him, Ning Chen drew back to dodge. Were you lying to me back then? He looked me in the eye, his eyes rimmed red. If you were lying, I'd accept it. I looked into those eyes and remembered the first time we met on that snowy night. It was truly stunning. Ning Chen, I didn't lie to you. That was also the first time I'd ever done something so outrageous. I lowered my head, but I've already married your elder brother. Even if I could harden my heart and leave him, we still have a child. The person in front of her did not move for a long time. I looked up at him. But don't worry, I won't leave you alone. If kissing you works, I'm willing. It's useless. Ning Chen was utterly cold. You have to sleep with me. I froze. Is it really that strict? Using your hands? No. Ning Chen no longer looked at me and issued a dismissal. Go. Since there was nothing I could do to help, I left the house with a heavy heart. Done talking. Ning Yang was actually waiting at the door. I was startled. You didn't leave. I was waiting for you. How could I leave? Ning Yang gazed at me with dark, Deep Eyes 6. I am still haunted by fear. Fortunately, nothing had happened inside. Go back first, I still have something to say to Ning Chen. So I left, but I didn't go straight back. Instead, I went to the Ning family ancestral hall and respectfully offered a stick of incense. Ancestor of the Ning family, you probably didn't expect this situation either. But in any case, I hope you can bless Ning Chen and not let him die. If I really caused Ning Chen's death, I would not be able to rest easy either. By nightfall, after Ning Yang finished speaking with me, he got up from the bed and blew out all the lamps. What are you doing? He turned back to look at me. I'm changing clothes. Sorry. I only then remembered what had been said during the day, but unfortunately I had lost interest. Let's do it another day. Uncle is still ill, and if we keep playing like this, Mother will scold me again later. Ning Yang's voice seemed to come from far away and yet close at hand. Only now are you saying you're no longer in the mood? Aren't you wasting my feelings? I was just about to call him back when I lifted the bed curtain with one hand and ran into Ning Yang climbing up by the moonlight. I made out his appearance, and my breath caught. The person before me was not only naked, but also wearing handcuffs and ankle chains. Aren't you cold? I stammered. He shook his head, then lowered his eyes, the corners of which were red. I hurriedly told him to come up. The curtains were dim, making things hard to distinguish. I like this bell on you very much. He listened to my words, lifted his chin, and let me touch him. He really was obedient to the extreme. I couldn't help but push him down and kiss his neck. Little dog, why aren't you saying anything? Are you shy? The person beneath me stiffened slightly, his fingers clutching the blanket. I knew Ning Yang had a bad temper. Then let me handle it. The first time I saw Ning Yang in that state, I found it utterly novel and couldn't get enough of him. We carried on until it was almost dawn, and only when I was too sleepy to go on did I finally collapse. When I woke up, Ning Yang was wiping my body for me. I was so sleepy I could barely keep my eyes open. You woke up quite early, Ning Yang suddenly asked. Did you have fun last night? Pretty good. I took hold of his finger. Try it more in the future. Ning Yang withdrew his finger, got to his feet, and dipped the cloth into the water. His voice was utterly flat. You can't play with this kind of lowly dog too much. What? How could I not understand? Nothing. He sat down by the side of the bed and tapped my forehead. Lie down. It was pitch dark last night, so let me see whether you got hurt. I obediently lay down, but I was far too sleepy and soon fell asleep again. When I woke up again, it was already afternoon. I heard that Ning Yang found a secret medicine yesterday, and Ning Chen has started to improve. I wanted to go see him, but I picked the wrong time. He was still asleep, so I asked the family physician for the prescription, thinking that Ning Yang might need it in the future too. Where did this prescription come from? It's just the medicine I usually take, Ning Yang said unhappily. Why are you going to see him? I nestled in his arms. With something like this happening at home, of course I'm worried too. He won't die. Ning Yang took both my hands. I won't allow you to see him. Okay. I lifted his wrist. It seemed like I hurt your hand last night, so I specially found some ointment. I paused. Why isn't it injured? Ning Yang withdrew his hand. I was pretending. How could I be hurt so easily? I wanted to look some more, but he scooped me up in his arms. I'm not afraid of pain. Next time, use a bit more force. I like it. This is what you said. I took the initiative to wrap my arms around him, though that was what he said. Within the bed curtains it was mostly Ning Yang taking the lead, and only occasionally would he lower himself enough to indulge me for a round. I asked him why. He brushed it off casually. Even playing with a lowly dog too much would get boring. This time I heard him clearly, and it left me feeling a little uneasy. Why would you say that about yourself? Ning Yang coaxed me. Don't overthink it. It's a term of endearment. You can call me that next time too. But whenever it was one of those nights, he refused to speak. Even when I accidentally hurt him, all I got were a few muffled groans. I'll go light a lamp. But he held on to me and wouldn't let go. If you won't let me light the lamp, then I can only be even more careful. I gently leaned in to kiss him. Ning Yang, I still don't want to call you that. I like you. You're my adorable little dog. I didn't expect it. But he looked at me and suddenly cried. I went to comfort him, but he took advantage of my guard being down, pinned me down instead, and even bit my chest. It was simply repaying kindness with enmity. The next day, I was still feeling sore. Ning Yang asked me what was wrong. I pulled him to the bedside and made him look at the bite marks on my chest. It's all your fault. You bit too hard. His expression suddenly darkened. He applied the ointment for me, then said he had official business and hurried away. Since I had nothing to do, I went to check on Ning Chen. Just as I reached outside the window, I heard a crisp smack from inside. Just because I made you act like a dog, do you really think you are a dog? How could Ning Yang be here? 7. I stopped in my tracks. Then Ning Chen's voice rang out. Brother, you hit me over such a trivial matter. There was the sound of cups and dishes breaking inside. I'm hitting you, you vile woman. Ning Chen let out a cold laugh. As long as she likes it. As soon as the words left my mouth, the commotion inside grew even louder. I hurriedly pushed open the door and found the table overturned, the room in complete disarray, and Ning Chen fallen to the floor. What happened? I grabbed Ning Yang. He's only just recovered from his illness. How could you hit him? Ning Yang clenched his fists. He did something wrong. As his elder brother, I came specially to teach him a lesson. He glanced at me indifferently. What? Do you feel sorry for him? I was momentarily stunned. Husband. Lady Ning quickly hurried over, angrily scolding Ning Yang, then punished him by making him kneel in the ancestral hall. I remained where I was, locking eyes with Ning Chen, counting it up. We hadn't seen each other for almost a month. It was nearly autumn, and he was dressed very warmly, even his neck covered tightly. Are you better now? Ning Chen looked at me and nodded. Thank you for your concern, sister-in-law. What were you two just talking about? I've never seen my husband so angry. Nothing, Ning Chen said, lowering his eyes. He didn't want to say. I won't ask any more. Is your injury serious? Ning Chen stepped back half a pace, as if afraid I would get too close. It's nothing serious. I had someone make some ginseng soup. I don't know if you'd like to drink it. Ning Chen's eyes brightened slightly. All right. I filled it for him and handed it to him with my own hands. Uncle, could you help me plead with mother? Ask him to make him kneel for less time. Ning Chen's movements froze. After a moment, he said in a low voice, got it. Only then did I leave, relieved, but it was already dark, and my mother still hadn't relented. I was worried sick, so I went to the ancestral hall to see Ning Yang inside the main hall. It was very dim, only dozens of rows of candlelight, arranged at different heights, lit the space. Ning Yang knelt in the center, his back straight. I slipped in secretly. I brought you bedding, make do with it and rest for now. Ning Yang turned to look at me. I'm being punished and can't slack off. Go back. I thought he was being far too honest, so I simply knelt down beside him. Then I'll go with you. Ning Yang couldn't bear to let me suffer with him, and after much back and forth, he had no choice but to lie down on the floor and rest with me. I propped my chin on my hand and looked at him. Ning Yang, although I don't know why you wanted to hit someone, as your wife, I will definitely stand by your side. Ning Yang's gaze stilled in surprise as he stared straight at me, the rims of his eyes slowly turning red. Ayu, only you are good to me. He suddenly pulled me into his arms, burying his head as his voice came out muffled. Don't leave, please don't leave. The ancestors of the Ning family are all watching here. I looked around and raised my voice. I swear I will never leave Ning Yang. This time, there was no thunder. Only the candlelight all around was reflected in our eyes. Ning Yang and I looked at each other for a while. Then he suddenly put his arm around my waist and leaned in again, facing me directly. I haven't been with you out here before. I didn't understand how his thoughts could be so abrupt. How can that be? Your family's ancestors are watching, you know. But Ning Yang was very persistent. No, I want everything others have too. I didn't know who he meant by others. I only felt that he'd suddenly gone mad again. Besides, last time with Ning Chen, I caught a chill and really wasn't in good shape. Ning Yang, you're bullying me. A gust of wind rose, and the candlelight swayed gently. A long shadow suddenly fell across the floor. I turned back to look. It was Ning Chen. I did not know when he had arrived. He was holding a lantern, looking at the scene before him. I'm sorry to have interrupted brother's enjoyment, but you can take sister-in-law back to bed now. Ning Yang stopped fooling around. He picked me up and brushed past Ning Chen without saying a word. I lay in Ning Yang's arms and looked back, only to see Ning Chen still following behind, holding a lantern to light the way for us. I met his gaze. He lifted the lantern a little higher and smiled at me. I froze slightly, because when his sleeve slipped down, it revealed the obvious red mark on his wrist. But before I could look any closer, Ning Yang had already carried me into the room. He could not help but continue what he had been doing earlier, yet I had become absent-minded. A few days later, I found an opportunity to go out with the prescription and asked a doctor what kind of medicine it was. The doctor was very surprised. This is a male contraceptive prescription. Contraceptive prescription. I instantly became so unsteady on my feet that I could hardly stand. Ning Yang, how could he do such a thing? I returned to the mansion in a daze and ran into Ning Chen along the way. Sis-in-law, what's wrong? Your face. I slowly came to a stop, raised my hand, and slapped him. You wretch. Ning Chen covered his injured face and looked at me aggrievedly. What did I do wrong? Just then, my mother-in-law happened to witness the scene, and she was so enraged that she nearly doubled over. My heavens, are you blind? This isn't your husband. You actually hit your younger brother-in-law whenever you feel like it. 8. I didn't pay much attention and went back to my room for a while. No one came to disturb me. I thought that perhaps Ning Chen had stopped his mother, but I had no intention of thanking him. All I can think about now is Ning Yang. How could he treat me like this? Was it to save his younger brother? And when exactly did he find out about what Ning Chen and I had in the past? Why did he do this? What gave him the right to do this? Looking at the sky, Ning Yang should be back soon. I slowly opened the door and had someone call Ning Chen over. Sister-in-law, he came very quickly. I shouldn't have hit you just now. I'll apply some medicine for you, so it won't look bad later. Ning Chen froze. Letting me pull him into the inner room, I leaned close to him and said, "There's no medicine. I'll blow on it for you instead." Ning Chen looked at me intently. Okay. Taking advantage of the moment, I pushed him down. Just as he struggled to get up, I pinned him down hard again. What are you pretending for? I pinched his chin hard. Weren't you enjoying it quite a bit before? Ning Chen froze. You knew. I let go of him, and my fingertips slid downward, slipping into his collar. Actually, I realized a long time ago that you and I seem to be a better match. What do you think? Ning Chen couldn't believe it. Really? I patted his face and raised an eyebrow slightly. This time we don't have to hold back anymore. You'd better perform well. Ning Chen seemed stirred, pulling me close to him as we rubbed cheeks, whispering intimate nothings into each other's ears. I will serve you well. My heart grew slightly warm, the bed curtains grew hot. By the time Ning Yang returned, he caught them in the act on the spot. His hand, which had been lifting the curtain, froze in midair, the color drained from his face, and his lips trembled. In broad daylight, you actually dare come here to seduce her? You despicable wretch, you slut. Ning Chen was dragged off the bed and beaten by him, but he still didn't say that I had been the one who took the initiative. When I put on my clothes and went out, I saw Ning Yang casually grab a tea tray and was about to smash it at Ning Chen. Stop it. My casual remark made both of them stop. I walked over slowly and stopped in front of Ning Yang. Tears streamed down his face as he stared at me. Are you? Why? I raised my hand high and slapped him hard, the crisp crack landing with such force that Ning Yang nearly lost his balance. He slowly turned his head to look at me, as if he couldn't believe it. You hit me. For him. I took a deep breath, grabbed his collar, and gritted out, "What do you take me for? You actually sent a man to my bed." Ning Yang froze for a moment. It took him quite a while to recover, and he stammered, "Ayu, no, it's not what you think." I ignored him and walked away. Ning Yang caught up and held me tightly. "Ayu, I was wrong. I only heard him say that the person you wanted to marry was never me from the very beginning. I was afraid he would tell the truth. I was afraid you would leave me. I was afraid mother would force you to save him." He cried until he was completely out of control. "Ayu, I know I was wrong. I'm really hurting too." I shoved him away violently. "You can't do that either." I took out the divorce agreement and placed it on the table. "Ning Yang, our marriage ends here." Ning Yang picked up the thin sheet of paper and looked at me in a daze. "You swore you would never leave me." My heart ached dully. "It doesn't count anymore." Ning Yang froze completely just as I was about to leave. He suddenly tore that sheet of paper to pieces. "Ayu, if you divorce me, I'll take Shenna and die together with him." I turned around in disbelief. Could it be that when you insisted on having a child, it was just to threaten me? Ning Yang slowly knelt down, raised his head to look at me, his eyes and nose all red from crying. "Are you? I was just afraid you would no longer want me." 9. I temporarily returned to my parents' home when my mother asked me what had happened. I had no face to explain it clearly. She was going to take my brother and go settle accounts with the Ning family, but before they even left, someone from the Ning family arrived. I heard that it was Ning Yang who came, bringing expensive gifts to apologize in person. Mother came over to persuade me, since they were husband and wife, They should talk things out properly. I think your son-in-law is pretty good." After saying that, my mother left, and Ning Yang came in. I sat on the edge of the bed, angry. "Sister-in-law." The man suddenly appeared. I was startled and quickly covered his mouth. "How come it's you?" Ning Chen blinked. "Brother is at home holding the child and crying. I sneaked over to see you." I coldly withdrew my hand. "You're not exactly a good person either." Ning Chen lowered his head, the corners of his eyes slightly moist. "I know that in your heart, I can't compare to him. Maybe what brother said was right. I didn't respect myself enough. I shouldn't have given myself to you without any status from the beginning. I suppose I'll never have any status in this life. I feel bad about it. Ning Chen, I let you down. Don't take his words to heart." He suddenly took my fingertips and gently placed them over his heart. "Since you want to leave, brother, if you don't mind, could you let me keep you company?" I was stunned for a moment. "Are you out of your mind? This is my home." Ning Chen leaned forward and moved close to my ear. "It's precisely because you're at your family home that it's better no one knows about our relationship. I've already spoken to your mother, and I'll stay with you at your parents' home for a few more days. My heart is pounding. Will you stay with me for a few more days?" Ning Chen's hands gradually became improper. "I want to be your rightful husband for a few days." Ning Chen was not joking. He really did move into my room. I slept in the bed, and he slept on the couch. Everyone thought he was the eldest son of the Ning family and regarded him and me as a loving couple. Ning Chen often asks me to call him husband when we are outside. I didn't dare expose him in front of outsiders. After all, if I went back to the room and gave him the chance, he would only become even more reckless. Several times, he climbed into bed in the middle of the night to keep me company while I slept in the middle of the night. I was terribly thirsty, and Ning Chen fed me water. "You've stayed for 6 days already. What if your brother comes looking for you? Hurry back." He wouldn't dare say anything. "As long as you don't divorce him." I was taken aback. "He isn't that kind of person." Ning Chen brushed his thumb across the corner of my lips. His movements intimate. "Sister-in-law, do you really think he doesn't know?" I remained silent. I had originally planned to stay at my parents' home for an extended period, but Ning Chen kept lingering and refusing to leave, and my mother also didn't understand what I was doing. "Since the two of you are getting along so well, why still not go back?" I have nothing to say. But after some time, the servants let it slip that the eldest young master of the Ning family was staying at my parents' home with me. Madam Ning came to my door with a big fuss. My son locked himself in his room and cried, and he even stopped eating. She actually did something like this. I want to see just who it was that did such a good deed. My mother was an honest, straightforward woman and had never seen anything like this. There must be some misunderstanding. "Go quickly and call the young lady and the young master out." I packed my things, thinking I'd flee wherever I could, but unexpectedly Ning Chen pulled me along and swaggered right out. "Mother, it's me, Lady Ning." Froze for a moment, her mouth slightly open. My mother gave a subtle gesture and said, "In-law, you see this?" Mother-in-law looked at us, then suddenly pulled Ning Chen over with an awkward smile. "Look at you, when did you go out?" I didn't even notice. Then she looked at my mother again. "It was a misunderstanding. This really is my eldest son." Mother asked her to stay for a meal. Madam Ning suddenly bent over and coughed violently, unable to stop. "No, I think I've caught a chill. I'm getting old, and when illness comes, it hits like a mountain collapsing. You too, hurry and take me back, or I'll die here." Ning Chen quickly helped her back. Mrs. Ning even made sure to drag me into it on the way back to the mansion. The carriage was filled with an eerie silence. Mrs. Ning kept sizing me up. "I really underestimated you, Shenlingyu." I lowered my head, not daring to speak. Ning Chen shielded me. "Mother, this isn't her fault." But Madam Ning, contrary to her usual indulgence, slapped him so hard that he knocked against the carriage wall. "How did I teach you? How can you be so shameless?" Ning Chen didn't dare say a word. I stared in shock. Just as she reached out toward me, I squeezed my eyes shut. "Mother, don't hit me." But she took my hand and tightly circled my wrist, then did nothing else. "You're far too thin. We'll need to nourish your body properly later, or I'm afraid I won't be able to keep up with those two when they start causing trouble." I froze for a moment. "I didn't mean to." Lady Ning smiled and withdrew her hand. "I don't think I ever told you this, but the women who marry into the Ning family are all pretty fierce. You're the only one with such a good temper. But then again, no one else would do something like you did." I suppose I really misjudged you before. She looked me up and down. Want me to give you some advice? Come closer. I'll whisper it to you. 10 After several days, I saw Ningyang again. He was holding Shenna in one arm and writing with the other. When he saw me come in, he quickly set down his brush. You're back. He held the child out for me to see. I brought Shenna to stay with me. I thought you might not want to see me, but perhaps you'd like to see him. I had someone take the child away. Ningyang, about the divorce. He bit his lip tightly and lifted his eyes to stare at me. The rims of his eyes red from sleeplessness. I'm begging you, don't divorce me. He clutched my sleeve and wouldn't let go. I'll do anything you want me to do. I lowered my gaze, looked at his hand, and suddenly placed my hand over the back of his. I've changed my mind. I won't divorce you. Ningyang's sorrow turned to joy. Really? I nodded very seriously. Ningyang happily lifted me up. I wrapped my arms around his neck. Let me count the days. It's almost been 7 days. Have you been missing me too? A rare trace of shyness appeared on Ningyang's face. I thought you wouldn't even remember me. I gave him a look. And he carried me back to the room, but to his surprise, Ning Chen was in the inner room drinking tea. What are you doing here? Ning Chen blushed slightly and admitted, sister-in-law asked me to wait here. Ning Yang gritted her teeth in anger. What are you waiting for? Waiting to die? It was me who asked him to come. Ning Yang froze. I jumped down from his arms. You were both about the same time last time. By my reckoning, in another half an hour or so, you probably won't be able to hold out much longer. The two of them exchanged a glance, then turned their eyes to me. Ayu, what exactly do you want to do, sister-in-law? Why didn't you discuss this with me beforehand? I took a deep breath and used the trick my mother-in-law had taught me. Which one of you is willing to be the junior wife? As soon as the words were spoken, everyone in the room was stunned. Shenlingyu, say that again. Ning Yang's expression changed in an instant. Ning Chen looked dazed. I can. But what answered him was Ning Yang's fury. You can't either. I didn't dare look Ning Yang in the eye and silently stepped back into the inner room. Whoever's willing to be the junior wife today can come in first. After saying that, I shut the door. There was continuous chaos and sounds of fighting outside. I'm willing to go. What right do you have to stop me? Did you take your medicine? Don't hurt her. I came only after taking my medicine. So you really are a filthy woman. Go die. You ruined me. It was you who stole my person first. She said that. She's more compatible with me. That means you're the smaller one. You're talking nonsense. I'm going to tell mother that you're bullying me. I ignored it and got into bed by myself. Starting to take deep breaths, I waited quietly. It really was an unbearably long time. The two people outside were gradually overcome by their lust-induced poison. Having lost the strength to fight, they could only barely struggle and tug at each other. Brother, I was wrong, really. Let me in. Sister-in-law is still waiting for me. Ning Chen was desperately crawling forward, his voice already twisted out of shape. Ning Yang clutched his ankle in a death grip, and he too was down to his last breath, speaking haltingly. Don't even think about it. Even if I die, I won't let you have any standing. I, draped in my robes, leaned against the doorway and looked down at them, stretch out my fingertips, pacing back and forth. You. Ning Chen tilted his neck up to look at me, stretching out his long arm to tug at the hem of my skirt. I will. Ning Yang struggled to lift his head and gaze up at me, his eyes unfocused. Ayu. The night was deep. The spilled wine poured onto the ground, reflecting the moonlight from the sky in a dazzling, dreamlike sheen. I took a sip of ginseng tea and fed it into the mouth of the drowsy Ning Yang. Only then did he slowly wake up. Ayu, he exclaimed in alarm. Why am I here? I gently wiped the sweat from him. Husband, you fell ill and passed out. I treated your poison, but your body is still a little weak. Ning Yang sat up, looked around, and slowly let out a breath. I'm afraid I must have had a nightmare. I walked around behind him and gently patted his back. Don't be afraid, it's all right now. You're the legitimate wife. Ning Yang stiffened abruptly. What? He looked around everywhere. Ning Chen, where is he? I turned over and sat on his lap, gently pressing my hands on his shoulders. He was already sent back by me. Why are you so dense? Ning Yang gazed at me, his eyes flickering slightly. After a moment's hesitation, he pulled me into his arms. Our hearts collided. Then I'm the legal wife. You can only like me and treat him like a toy. Ning Yang went on for a full half hour. This included, but was not limited to, Everything he had done with Ning Chen, he had to do it all with him once. From then on, every first time had to belong to him, and there were all sorts of things that could only be done with him, and could not be done with Ning Chen. Don't call him husband, I've already heard about it, and I'm very upset. Although I was a little sleepy, I still propped up my chin and stared at him without blinking, nodding repeatedly, mm. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My sister and I are twins from the same birth, yet a high monk asserted that I am the reincarnation of a fox demon, destined to become a bewitching consort who would lead the ruler astray. My family concealed my true identity and sent me to Fahua Temple to cultivate a pure heart through spiritual practice. In the 16th year of my secluded cultivation, I had almost forgotten I was a demon, only wanting to be a good person. But at that moment, the Empress, who held the Emperor's favor above all others in the 6 palaces, had a dream in which she saw herself being stripped of her phoenix throne in the future by a woman of the Shen family. Thus, my sister, who was about to be married, was repeatedly violated by bandits and died an innocent, tragic death. I held her corpse in my arms, weeping until not a single tear remained. 3 months later, the Emperor went up the mountain to pray for blessings and fell in love with me at first sight. He asked if I would be willing to return to the palace with him. I thought, the title of calamitous imperial consort, I must live up to it. After serving him in the bedchamber for many consecutive days, the Empress grew increasingly displeased with me. Good morning today, she found some random excuse to accuse me of disrespect and banished me to the Buddhist hall under house arrest. Since Ling Fei was once a practitioner, these next few days, go to the Buddhist hall and pray well on my behalf. Jiang Ruowei harbors an inexplicable hostility toward me, always sparing no effort to suppress me. From the moment she first laid eyes on me, she was so frightened that her face turned deathly pale, and at night, she suffered from several consecutive nights of nightmares. She had a premonition. My appearance not only threatened to divide the Emperor's favor but also made her sense a hint of danger. To dispel her doubts, she sent people to secretly investigate my background several times, but without exception, all efforts came to nothing. Indeed, her ominous premonition was entirely correct. I entered the palace. I came to claim her life. I knelt in the prayer hall, adding lamp oil to the eternal flame on the altar, silently reciting the prayer. In a fleeting moment of daze, I seemed to see an old friend through the candlelight. 16 years ago, the Shen family welcomed a pair of twin sisters. Just as the entire household was preparing to celebrate, a passing eminent monk left behind a prophecy. He said I was a fox spirit reincarnated, destined to become a bewitching consort who would lead the ruler astray. Fox spirits, at their mildest, could enchant hearts and bring ruin with their beauty. At their worst, they could topple kingdoms, wipe out clans, and plunge the world into chaos. The news was immediately suppressed. My parents, in their anguish, concealed my identity and sent me to cultivate on a mountain. It was publicly claimed that they only had one daughter, Shen Xiue. Thus, I grew up in Fahua Temple. Although I could not be recognized as part of the family, my parents still loved me dearly, and my sister was especially close to me, often visiting under the pretense of worshipping Buddha and offering incense. She would often hold me in her arms and shed tears. What nonsense about being a fox spirit reincarnated. It's all utter rubbish. To think they'd make my sister come here to suffer. Woo-woo. But sister, I really am one. I glanced around to make sure no one was watching, then quietly raised 2 fluffy ears, white fox ears. With a hint of pink at the tips, she covered my head with a sack and cried even harder, "Hurry up and hide. If anyone finds you, they'll catch you and stew you for dinner." I promised my sister that I would be a good monster, no, a good person. I will never use my magical powers to harm anyone. The two of us sat side by side beneath the Bodhi tree. I closed my eyes and silently chanted the incantation. In no time at all, a sparrow came bearing a willow wreath, which settled gently upon her head. I blinked. "Sister, do I look like a good person now?" She rushed over and hugged me. "My little sister is the very best sister in the whole wide world." The two of them laughed and chased each other under the brilliant sunlight. Before sunset, I bid her farewell. "Sister, next time you come, I'll show you the twin lotus flowers blooming together." But my sister never got to see the day the twin lotus flowers bloomed. She died on her way up the mountain to see me, ravaged by marauding bandits in turn. Left to rot in the wilderness, her eyes remained wide open in death. In her luggage were my favorite pastries. She had a sweetheart, the second son of Minister Chen, and they were deeply in love, with their wedding day drawing near, all because of a single dream the empress had. Jiang Ruowei, born into nobility, grew up with Pei Jing since childhood, their bond deep and affectionate. Since the new emperor ascended the throne, she had been the most favored in the entire harem, yet in the dream, a voice told her that her position as empress and even her life would one day be taken by a woman from the Shen family, so she secretly sent someone to kill her sister, thus eliminating the threat once and for all. I wept uncontrollably, fainting several times. My sister was the brightest and gentlest of women. How could she die in such a humiliating manner? The matter was reported to the Dali Temple. My father was only a minor fourth-rank official, while the chief minister of the Dali Temple was a partisan of the empress's father and brothers. They were all in cahoots, and the officials handling the case merely went through the motions, hastily closing the investigation. Grief, despair, to the point of heartbreak. I no longer wept in vain, wiping away my last tear. Look, sister, the fox demon has never committed any evil deeds, yet the wicked remain at large. The wheel of heaven's justice turns, but I cannot wait. Then I shall fulfill the prophecy of the high monk, to bewitch the ruler's heart and bring calamity upon the world. As a fox demon, it was no difficult task to catch the emperor's attention. Fahua Temple was the national temple, and Pei Jing would come here every year to offer incense and pray for blessings. I timed his movements perfectly, waiting on the path he had to take back to his meditation room for rest. As he approached, I accidentally met his gaze. He was done for. I am determined to succeed. Pei Jing indeed noticed me, however. He was so lost in his gaze that he stumbled and fell straight into the water with a loud splash. I gasped in surprise and, before the hidden guards could react, leaped into the water and swam over to rescue him. Worriedly said, "Benefactor, are you all right?" After coming ashore, he couldn't take his eyes off me, even forgetting to take the cloak handed to him by the hidden guard. "Tell me, what is your name?" I was stunned for a moment, then immediately broke into a smile. "My name is Lingji." Pei Jing fell for me at first sight and tried every means to bring me back to the palace. The empress, who loved to put on a show of generosity and virtue in front of him, had no objection to taking a concubine, but the moment she laid eyes on me, she stumbled back in fright, a chill running down her spine. My sister and I were born different. She was bright and gentle, while I was the type they'd call a seductive troublemaker. Yet, as twin sisters, there was still a certain resemblance in the bone structure. She was nearly driven mad with anxiety, doing everything she could to stop him. "Your Majesty, you are being foolish. How can you bring a monk who has taken refuge in Buddhism back to the palace?" She thought invoking Buddhist teachings would be enough to deter the emperor, but Pei Jing was the son of heaven. He cared nothing for monastic rules or regulations. The words of the Son of Heaven are the principles of heaven. The emperor had made up his mind, but the empress firmly opposed him, leaving the two at an impasse and creating a rift between them. I will take advantage of the chaos to add fuel to the fire. In the dead of night, I walked to the lotus pond and silently chanted incantations. The next day, news of the twin lotus flowers blooming in full splendor stirred the entire Fahua Temple. Someone exclaimed in awe, "Truly an auspicious omen that comes once in 100 years, an official flatteringly offered his words. Legend has it that the blooming of twin lotus flowers signifies a blessed union, a joyous occasion for our great Liang. Congratulations, Your Majesty." The Empress was so furious she nearly lost her composure on the spot, pointing at me and saying, "As a member of the monastic order, you are impure in mind and heart, with improper intentions, seducing His Majesty. You are a disgrace to the Buddhist community." Master Jingyan shielded me behind her and stepped forward to bow. "Your Majesty, the Empress, I must ask you to choose your words with care. The Fahua Temple is a national temple, known for its pure and upright atmosphere. It was on that day when His Majesty accidentally fell into the water that my disciple, Lingji, could not bear to see him suffer and stepped forward to rescue him, thus earning His Majesty's favor. It is not as Your Majesty has suggested, that she harbors ill intentions." She then bowed to Pei Jing. "Your Majesty, For a monastic to keep their hair while cultivating signifies that their worldly ties are not yet severed and their heart still holds attachments. Lingji has been cultivating with her hair at our temple for over a decade, which must have been destined by heaven, waiting here for the one fated to cross her path. Today, indeed, the Buddha has manifested his will before us. I silently watched my master's receding figure. A wave of bitterness welled up in my heart. She once taught me to be compassionate and not harbor thoughts of killing. Yet now, she is willing to lend a hand in my quest for revenge first. There were auspicious signs, followed by the abbot's words. The empress was left speechless at this point. The matter was already settled. Pei Jing laughed heartily. Excellent, truly a match made in heaven. He reached out his hand to me. Are you willing to return to the palace with me? The sunlight was brilliant, and no one saw the raging flames of vengeance burning in my eyes. I lowered my gaze and placed my hand in his. Lingji, I am willing. Every time Pei Jing rested at my place, Jiang Ruowei would fall ill with one ailment after another, be it headaches, fevers, heart palpitations, or nightmares, as if she were on the brink of death, sending people to summon him. When the palace attendant came in to report, Pei Jing was in the midst of reviewing memorials. Meanwhile, I was lying inside the bed curtains, hugging a huge round pillow with both hands and feet, rolling and tumbling around playfully. Her Majesty the Queen is suffering from a headache. Would your Majesty go and see her? Pei Jing did not answer immediately, resting his head on his hand as he fell into deep thought. I knew what he was hesitating about. The Queen was his childhood sweetheart, while I was the one who captured his heart at first sight. Now, with a new love in my arms, an old love stands in the way. He set down his brush and looked toward the bed curtains. Does Aji wish for me to visit the Empress? He wanted to see me vie for his affection out of jealousy. That certainly could not go as he wished. I slipped out of bed barefoot, pattered over to the writing desk, and performed a somewhat less than perfect curtsy. Your humble consort respectfully bids farewell to your Majesty. Not expecting such a response from me, a flicker of displeasure crossed Pei Jing's face. He pinched my chin. Is Aji so eager to see me leave, not even willing to vie for my favor? I looked at him with wide, eager eyes. What does it mean to vie for favor? He was taken aback. You don't know. I shook my head and explained earnestly. Before your Majesty, Aji had never spoken to any man, let alone vying for favor. Pei Jing's breath hitched slightly, his voice trembling a little. Really, my master forbids us disciples from interacting with men outside. If your Majesty hadn't fallen into the water right before my eyes that day, I wouldn't have rushed to save you, nor would I have told you my name. With that, I shot him a glance that was both reproachful and coquettish. It's all your Majesty's fault for making Aji break the rules. The gloom that had clouded Pei Jing's face moments earlier vanished completely. Even though he was an emperor, he was no different from all those foolish men in the world. They all sought a sense of achievement from women. If you gave them any kind of first time, they would feel immense satisfaction and pride. He sent the people sent by the Empress away, then lifted me into his arms and laughed heartily. All right, it was my fault for making Aji break the rules. Tonight, I shall make it up to you properly. In the past, the record for the most favored concubine in the harem was 3 months, yet I have remained in favor without decline, having lived for thousands of years. If I didn't have a few tricks to keep people in check, how could I ever face the esteemed elders of the Fox clan in the future? For example, his harem consorts were mostly well-bred young ladies from prestigious families, trained in the ways of nobility. They were reserved, gentle, and graceful, but also rigid and dull. They feared and obeyed Pei Jing. But I wasn't afraid. Not only did I dare to talk back to him, but I also dared to kick him off the bed. He was so angry that he laughed. Throughout the entire palace, everyone looks up to me, fears me, and flatters me. Only you, my beloved consort, dare to show me such a face. And what of it? I was utterly unceremonious, swallowing the lychee he had peeled and fed me in one gulp, leaning back on the couch and laughing heartily. Aren't they all calling me a fox spirit behind my back? Then of course I belong to the fox, unlike them, who belong to the dog. Another example, the beauties of the harem are heavily made up, vying to outshine each other. I have grown tired of the dazzling array of colors, yet I insist on being pure and simple to the end, wearing a pure white dress, dancing under the moonlight. As the saying goes, to be charming, one must be in morning attire. Isn't that right? Moreover, This will better evoke his memories of our first meeting, a bewitching beauty, clad in a snow-white monk's robe, first encounter by the pond, a fleeting glimpse of breathtaking beauty. The young ladies in the harem were so jealous their teeth ached, gathering together to curse me fiercely. Pa, that vixen, pretending to be pure and harmless, who doesn't know what she's really thinking, even if she told us her lowly tricks, would never stoop to using them. Exactly. But not many days later, some among them turned traitor. They began to imitate my style of dress, dancing gracefully before the flowers, under the moonlight, or on the path the emperor had to take after court. Within a few days, more and more concubines in the palace were wearing white dresses and dancing. Pei Jing finally couldn't take it anymore and scolded, "What on earth are you all trying to do? This is the imperial palace, not a place for mourning. If there is a next time, all of you will be banished from the palace." After that, no one could stand in my way. Pei Jing doted on me to the extreme, taking me with him wherever he went. I was constantly by his side, attending banquets and sharing his leisure, accompanying him on spring outings and monopolizing his nights, truly becoming a bewitching consort who captivated the emperor's heart. The empress no longer deliberately targeted me, allowing my influence to grow day by day, but I knew she would not let the matter rest. Beneath the calm surface, a greater storm was brewing. I have been waiting for it for a long time. At the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet, I planned to perform a dance in front of everyone. Before the banquet began, I was in my bedchamber preparing to change clothes. A young palace maid from the imperial wardrobe bureau entered, knelt before me with a thud, her voice tinged with tears. "We are guilty, Your Majesty. We accidentally damaged your dance gown while ironing it, and by the time we realized it, it was already too late to fix it." Her shoulders trembled uncontrollably as she spoke. Her head bowed so low that her face was hidden from view. She held the wooden box out before me. "Your Highness, this is the only dance dress in the entire palace that suits you. I had no desire to treat human lives as worthless." Casually venting my anger by punishing servants, he simply rubbed his temples and waved her off. "I understand. This little incident caused me to be delayed for a while." By the time I arrived, everyone was already seated. In an instant, the great hall fell so silent you could hear a pin drop. I was dressed in a long jade green gown, its hem adorned with peacock feathers and golden threads, shimmering brilliantly under the bright lights and candle flames of the hall, each step radiating splendor. It was at this very moment that the sudden change occurred. Jiang Ruowei's face showed a look of shock. "This, oh my heavens!" She quickly knelt down to plead for mercy. "Your Majesty, Sister Lingfei surely did not mean to offend intentionally. Please forgive her." The Empress Dowager stared in astonishment. "Qingyun, is that you?" Pei Jing's expression darkened inch by inch, turning as black as ink. What they were referring to was Pei Jing's birth mother, the late Emperor's concubine, consort Wei Qingyun, and this dance dress was named the Peacock Gold Gown. It was consort Wei's most beloved garment during her lifetime. Consort Wei was once a highly favored imperial consort at the peak of her influence. Pei Jing's most vivid childhood memory was of his mother, the imperial consort, dressed in a peacock feather golden gown, dancing the peacock plume dance under the moonlight, while his father, the emperor, strummed the strings in accompaniment. The harmonious duet between emperor and consort became a celebrated tale of their time. Later, consort Wei was framed for practicing witchcraft and was banished to the cold palace by the late emperor, her beauty fading away. Even Pei Jing, the crown prince, fell out of favor and was neglected, nearly losing his position before her wrongful death. She donned the peacock feather golden gown, murmuring the late emperor's name, hoping to see him one last time, yet the late emperor would not even deign to cast a glance her way. With the passing of consort Wei, the peacock feather dance she personally choreographed was lost to time, never to be known again. It was not until many years later that her name was finally cleared. After Pei Jing ascended the throne, he posthumously honored her with the title of Empress Dowager. This past event remains the darkest memory in Pei Jing's heart, a forbidden topic that no one dares to touch. And now, I appear at this palace banquet wearing the peacock gold gown that consort Wei loved most in her lifetime. Truly, even 10,000 deaths would not atone for my crime. The Empress stands beside Pei Jing, quietly observing his expression. Seeing him remain silent, his face terrifyingly dark, a flicker of delight flashes in her eyes. Then he pointed at me and shouted loudly, "Audacious enchantress, usually, you bewitch the emperor with your seductive charms, and we let it slide, but today, you dare to publicly insult the late Empress Dowager, truly an unforgivable crime. Guards, strip her of her clothes at once and seize this sorceress." So this is where the trap was set for me. 2 guards stepped forward, seizing me from both sides. I struggled free with all my might, neither admitting fault nor kneeling down. Whoosh, the hem of my skirt fluttered and spread out like the feathers of a sparrow. I steadied my strength, bent my waist, lifted my leg, and extended my arm, dancing out the first movement. Perhaps they had never seen someone as unrestrained as me before. The 2 guards were somewhat at a loss, exchanging a glance, wanting to step forward and restrain me again. "Stop." Peijing's expression stiffened, and he coldly rebuked the guards. "Step back." The reason was none other. The dance I performed was none other than the peacock feather dance. Once performed by Consort Wei, the palace banquet returned to its orderly rhythm, and the musicians once again picked up their instruments to play for me. The bells chimed, like jade shattering on Kunlun Mountain, like fragrant orchids weeping with dew. The water sleeves soared, the long skirts fluttered, and lotus blossoms bloomed beneath my steps. The room was filled with dazzling brilliance, radiant and blinding. As the dance ended, Peijing descended from the high platform, staring at me in a daze. "You, actually," I bowed deeply in reverence. "Your Majesty, I have been having the same dream for the past few days. In the dream, a kind and beautiful lady taught me a dance. She said she hoped I could perform it before you. I know my dancing cannot compare to even a fraction of that lady's grace, but her sincerity and earnest request moved me deeply. That is why I dared to present this humble performance at the palace banquet. Little did I know that the lady in my dream was actually your Majesty's late mother, and the peacock feather gown I am wearing was her most cherished possession. It must be that the late Empress Dowager misses you so dearly that the heavens were moved, leading to all these coincidences today, allowing me to recreate her breathtaking dance and elegance from years past. Jiang Ruowei, are you the only one who can invoke the late Empress Dowager? I can too. No one could have imagined how I managed to perform this long-lost peacock feather dance. Consort Wei is skilled in music and fond of dance, often studying ancient texts to restore long-lost melodies and dances. Over 2,000 years ago, the people of the Chu state enjoyed imitating the habits of various animals and choreographing them into dances. The most elegant and beautiful among them was the peacock dance. To highlight their status, the nobles of Chu decreed that the peacock dance could only be appreciated by the aristocracy and was not allowed to spread among the common people. 2,000 years ago, I was the beloved pet of the king of Chu, absorbing dragon energy to strengthen my cultivation. After Empress Wei recreated the peacock dance, she made only a few minor modifications to certain details, choreographing it into the feather dance. Time has passed, and Jing's memory of his mother's dance has long since faded, making it impossible to delve into the details. In his eyes, these 2 dances were almost indistinguishable, which is why I was fortunate enough to slip through. He gently helped me to my feet. "Since you share a connection with the late Empress, I shall bestow upon you the same honor she once received. Attendants, hear my decree. Consort Ling has greatly pleased me and shall henceforth be elevated to the rank of noble consort. Your Majesty, this must not be." Jiang Ruowei stepped forward to intervene. "Consort Ling has no children of her own. To elevate her to the rank of noble consort without such a precedent, our dynasty has never seen such a thing before. And why not?" Peijing shot a sharp glare over. "Does the Empress have grievances against me, or against my birth mother?" She lowered her head in panic. "I dare not, Your Majesty." I bowed deeply in gratitude. As I tried to stand up, my vision suddenly went dark, and my legs gave way uncontrollably. Peijing quickly steadied me, scooping me up in his arms. "You've lost weight." He gave me a gentle bounce in his arms, then pressed his forehead against mine, his tone full of affection. "Haven't you been eating well lately?" The palace maid, Liu Hua, spoke up at the right moment. "Your Majesty has been practicing dance diligently these past few days, often forgetting to eat and sleep. No matter how much I tried to persuade her, she wouldn't listen." Peijing carried me back to the dragon throne, pressing me firmly onto his lap without allowing any refusal. "Then sit by my side, and I'll watch you eat properly, Your Majesty. This is against protocol." Amidst the laughter, I caught sight of Jiang Ruowei from the corner of my eye. The grand hall was brilliantly lit, as bright as day. Yet her complexion seemed to wither inch by inch under the glow of the candlelight. As the poem goes, when the palm dance ends and the flute falls silent, the autumn nights stretch long through 36 palaces. Tonight, a certain group of people is destined to lose sleep in the end. I never became that imperial consort. The empress changed her tactics on the surface. She no longer opposed me at every turn or provoked the emperor's displeasure. Instead, she became gentle, considerate, and understanding toward her husband. Coinciding with this, her brother had achieved merit in suppressing bandits and quelling unrest. For several days in a row, Pei Jing visited her palace and bestowed many gifts upon her. The two had cleared away their previous grievances, returning to the deep affection they once shared as a devoted couple. I deliberately picked a fight and made a big scene over it. Your Majesty knows full well that it was the Empress who orchestrated the incident at the palace banquet. Instead of standing up for your humble consort, you continue to shower her with such favor. Pei Jing hugged me from behind, explaining in a gentle and patient tone, Aji, don't be unreasonable. The court and the harem are intertwined. I must always consider the bigger picture. I pushed him away without mercy. I have caught a chill and am feeling unwell. Your Majesty, it would be best for you to go to the Empress instead, lest I pass this illness on to you. Pei Jing was an emperor high above all others. No matter how much he favored a consort, he could not tolerate being slighted in such a manner. All the palace servants knelt down, the atmosphere unbearably oppressive. A snort of derision. The Empress is right. I have indeed been too indulgent with you. The day after tomorrow is the ceremony for the imperial consort's investiture. Since you're not feeling well, you need not attend. I was left out in the cold. Pei Jing deliberately wanted to show me, so he began to treat the Empress with extra kindness, sending her more gold, silver, calligraphy, and paintings, showering her with exclusive favor day and night. For a whole month, he never mentioned me, nor did he come to see me. This is exactly the result I wanted. First, since the last palace banquet, the Empress has become increasingly cautious in her actions. If I want to find her weaknesses, I must first fuel her arrogance. Second, my sister's birthday is just a week away, and during this time, I don't want to be disturbed. It would be best if no one bothered me at all these days. I have shut myself in the prayer hall, wholeheartedly worshipping Buddha, reciting sutras, and copying scriptures. One day, as I knelt on the prayer cushion, I accidentally dozed off amidst the swirling incense smoke. My sister emerged from the faint, curling mist and entered my dream. Her face was filled with sorrow, and the first words she spoke were, "Sister, you've changed." My heart leaped into my throat. I promised her I would be a good person. Could it be, she's disappointed in me? I tried my best to defend myself. Sister, are you saying I've become heartless? I promise you, I will never harm the innocent. But as for Jiang Ruowei, I will never let her go. I will make her pay with her life for what she did to you. She shook her head. Her fingers fell upon my deeply furrowed brow, gently stroking it. Her voice choked with emotion. You've become less inclined to smile. My dear sister, these past days must have been very difficult for you. I know you carry the burden of my vengeance with you. But, sister, I wish even more for you to live happily and smile more often. The tension that had been building for so long suddenly snapped, carrying immense pain and hatred. I walked alone, treading on thin ice. I dared not relax, planning day and night. I spoke words against my will and did things against my conscience. Today, meeting in a dream, I could finally remove my mask and let down my guard. I threw myself into her cold embrace and cried my heart out. Sister, I hate the aura these people carry. The smell of them makes me want to vomit. I don't like this life here at all. What should I do? I am truly so very tired. For the past month, I have done nothing but sleep, eat, chant sutras, and worship the Buddha. Liu Hua could no longer stand by and watch. Your Highness, you cannot continue to remain so detached from the world. What if His Majesty one day forgets all about you? There are many stories of those who rely on their looks to please others, only to find that as their beauty fades, so does the affection they once received. I rolled out of bed, casually brushed my hair aside, and lifted my face. What did you say? Come on, look at my face and say what you just said again. She suddenly fell silent. To put it bluntly, the reason our Fox Demon clan has thrived and dominated the world is all thanks to this face. Liu Hua came to sit by the edge of the bed, holding me tightly and rubbing against me vigorously. But, Your Majesty, even if the Emperor doesn't forget you, which servant in this palace isn't fawning on the powerful and bullying the weak? Just look at the dishes the Imperial kitchen has been sending these past few days. There's hardly any meat left. I fell silent for a moment. What she said makes so much sense. Seeing my attitude soften slightly, Liu Hua pressed on, appealing to both reason and emotion. Good mother, for the sake of us having meat to eat, please think of a way to soften up and make peace with His Majesty. I nodded. I lifted my nose and sniffed carefully. The air was thick with a damp scent. Based on my 1,000 years of life experience, I could tell that tonight there would definitely be a thunderstorm. I crawled out from under the covers, wrapped my arms around Liu Hua's neck, and whispered a few words to her. She looked puzzled. What does Your Majesty need these things for? Naturally, I'm going to do something befitting of a seductive consort. The eunuch by Pei Jing's side announced, Your Majesty, the tea room has prepared a fresh pot of tea for you. He looked up and saw me dressed in a palace maid's attire, my face hidden behind a fox mask. Well, come and serve me. He had already guessed it was me. No one else in the entire harem would use such methods, nor would anyone dare to sacrifice their dignity like this. Yet he did not expose me, instead playing along with great interest. Anticipating what new tricks I would play today, I obediently stepped forward and filled the teacup. Pei Jing was busy reviewing memorials and didn't look closely. He picked up the cup and took a sip, only to spit it out the next second. When he sensed something was off, hiss. Pointing at the pot of vinegar, he grimaced from the sourness. What is the meaning of this, my beloved consort? My voice carried a note of defiance. Of course, it's to let Your Majesty taste the bitterness in my heart. TSK, I heard you've been copying scriptures in the prayer hall almost every day this past month. I thought you'd really learned to behave, he teased while reaching out to remove my white fox mask. Then he froze on the spot beneath the mask. My face was drenched in tears. Pitiful and fragile in the past, Pei Jing had grown accustomed to my joys, angers, and whims, but he had never seen me in such a vulnerable state. Without a trace of makeup, the shimmering tears in my eyes added a touch of fragility, yet I remained breathtakingly beautiful. What's wrong? He gently tapped my nose. You used to be so clueless you didn't even know how to vie for favor, and now you've learned to be jealous. All of this was taught by Your Majesty. I wrapped my arms around his waist, carefully trying to please him. Your Majesty taught me how to love, so I belong only to Your Majesty. For the past month, I have been reflecting and repenting before the Buddha, but Your Majesty still favors others and refuses to see me. I was so heartbroken that I could only think of such a clumsy method. Weakness and tears are the most effective weapons. These past few days, he has been sulking with me. Today, I came to humble myself and win his favor, and I couldn't help but feel restless with anticipation. My breath quickened, my heart pounded fiercely. He lowered his head to seek my lips. I'll give you a chance tonight to let me carefully examine your attitude of repentance. Yet at that moment, I pushed him away again. Today is the 15th. Your Majesty should go to the Empress's palace tonight. I'm wearing a palace maid's attire now. If word gets out that you neglected the Empress for a maid, that wouldn't be good. Pei Jing's breath hitched. The voice of the young eunuch outside the door rang out at an inopportune moment. Your Majesty, the Empress has personally prepared the water shield fish soup you love. No matter how much you love a dish, if you eat it repeatedly, there will always come a time when you grow tired of it. I pried open his hand, laughing cheerfully. Your Majesty, you should hurry along. The Empress is already growing anxious. Flirt and run, no responsibility taken, leaving Pei Jing alone, scratching his heart and liver in frustration. A wife is not as good as a concubine is not as good as a stolen affair, and a stolen affair is not as good as one that cannot be stolen. When he goes to Jiang Ruowei's place tonight, he'll be absent-minded. Pei Jing was sitting in Jiang Ruowei's bedchamber, eating the water shield and fish soup he had been having for a month straight, finding it as tasteless as chewing wax. After the meal, it was time to retire for the night. Outside the window, a fierce wind suddenly rose, and dark clouds gathered and surged. A flash of lightning tore through the gloomy sky, illuminating it completely, followed immediately by a massive thunderclap crashing down. Jiang Ruowei buried her head in his embrace. Your Majesty, do you remember, I am most afraid of thunder. Pei Jing had no mood to care about anything else. He absent-mindedly comforted her with a few words, then turned around, his mind once again filled with my pale, tear-streaked face from earlier in the day. Jiang Ruowei was puzzled. "Your Majesty, why are you here tonight?" The loud cries for help from outside the door interrupted her. "Your Majesty, Her Majesty the Empress, Lingfei's palace is on fire, just back from the imperial study." I shut myself in my room, gathering my energy and focus, accumulating magical power. A mere honey trap alone is not enough. Demonic energy gathered on the rooftop, drawing down a bolt of heavenly thunder upon hearing the news. Pei Jing, disregarding Jiang Ruowei's attempts to hold him back, threw on his clothes and rushed out into the rainy night. When he hurriedly arrived, he saw me drenched and soaked in the rain, still shaken and unsettled. I lifted my head, a smudge of charcoal black on my pale cheek, my eyes filled with panic. Like a frightened little animal, I burst into loud sobs. "Your Majesty, I will never argue with you again. I thought I would never see you again just now." He wrapped me in his cloak, his voice gentle and soothing, as if handling a fragile treasure. It is only when one realizes how close they came to losing something that they truly cherish it. Jiang Ruowei never expected that the person she had worked so hard to keep would be so easily drawn away by me. The senior palace maid by her side reported my actions in the imperial study today to her. She was utterly enraged. Her again? How can it be her again? During the day, she bewitches His Majesty, unsettling his mind, and at night, she resorts to such a pitiful act of self-sacrifice. Is she truly this relentless? I want that wretched woman to die a miserable death. To deal with me, the Empress secretly began seeking divine guidance and consulting immortals, placing her hopes in supernatural forces. Hearing that fox spirits excel at bewitching hearts and govern matters of love and affection, she spent a fortune to invite one, devoutly offering worship day and night. Out of curiosity, I transformed into my original form at night, followed the scent into her dark chamber, and found the fox demon statue she was worshipping. To my surprise, it looked somewhat familiar, with a massive tail, a body of pure white, and a hint of pink at the tips of its ears. After a brief silence, I laughed so hard that tears were about to stream down my face. Jiang Ruowei had actually gone mad to such an extent, resorting to desperate measures in a moment of crisis. Then she might as well guess again. Who exactly is the fox demon she worships day and night with such devout incense offerings? Jiang Ruowei offered me incense and a peck of pearls. After nightfall, I transformed into my true form and entered her dream. She recognized me, both startled and delighted. "Little fox, are you truly this magical, able to grant any wish?" I nodded. "Let's see how sincere you are. The more difficult the wish, the more precious the offering required." Jiang Ruowei was the Empress, second only to the Emperor, with her father and brothers holding military power for years and numerous allies in the court, so wealth was within her easy reach. She was determined to succeed. "If you can help me resolve this great trouble in my heart, no matter how much tribute you ask for, I can provide it." I curled my body into a ball, swishing my tail, watching with great interest as she fawned over me with flattery. During the day, she hated me to the bone, yet now she wore a completely different face, having lived for thousands of years. "This is the first time I've encountered something so amusing," I asked, with feigned seriousness. "What wish might your highness have?" She pondered for a moment. "First, let me see your capabilities. Start by helping me win back His Majesty's heart." I nodded in agreement. "Agreed. When a person harbors evil thoughts, they give rise to inner demons and lose their rationality. Gradually, they become puppets manipulated by these inner demons." As the autumn hunt approached, I used illusion magic to conjure a white deer and prepared a set of clothes for Jiang Ruowei. In the state of Liang, the white deer was a mythical beast said to descend to the mortal realm only during the reign of a wise and virtuous monarch. Those who managed to hunt it would naturally receive the highest honors and rewards. Overjoyed, Pei Jing immediately issued an imperial decree for a hunting expedition. Today, Jiang Ruowei had shed her gold and silver jewelry. Casting aside her elaborate palace attire, her long hair was simply tied up with a plain hairpin. Astride her horse, her red skirt fluttered and billowed in the wind, her heroic and spirited demeanor both dazzling and striking. Embodying the proud bearing of a general's daughter, she declared boldly, "Your Majesty, today I must hunt the white deer and claim the top prize." Pei Jing's eyes lit up as he praised, "The Empress is truly splendid today. back in the capital. Who hadn't heard the legend of Jiang Ruowei disguising herself as a man dressed in vibrant clothes, riding a spirited horse, her famous sword gleaming like frost, where the hoofbits tread, red sleeves beckon from every tower. Alas, such a radiant beauty, yet her heart is rotten to the core. The journey was bumpy and exhausting. With my frail constitution, by the time we arrived, I was already dizzy from vomiting. Jiang Ruowei, upon hearing this, was naturally overjoyed. If Sister Lingfei is feeling unwell, then rest peacefully in the tent. With me gone, no one will disturb her and Pei Jing's private world. That day, she had a thoroughly enjoyable time. It wasn't until the sunset that she and Pei Jing rode back to the camp on the same horse, returning in high spirits. Behind him, servants led the white deer, while his ears were filled with the praises of his ministers. It could be said that he had stolen the spotlight. Had enough fun. Now it's my turn to spoil the mood. Several imperial physicians emerged from my tent, offering their congratulations in unison. Congratulations, Your Majesty, Consort Ling is with child. Upon returning, Jiang Ruowei flew into a tremendous rage. Why must I always be overshadowed by her? Then she thought of me again. She offered a whole chest of gold and made a wish. May the fox spirit bless that her child must not be born. I shook my head. She was puzzled. What does this mean? You can't do it. It's not that I can't, but these things are insufficient. I started spouting nonsense. I see that since the imperial consort became pregnant, she has been surrounded by a purple aura, indicating that this child is of immense importance, a child of destiny. You want to prevent that child from being born, which is to forcibly defy the will of heaven. The cost is extremely high, and this bit of gold is far from enough to make me do this for you. She reacted as if facing a great enemy. What? 3 years ago, Jiang Ruowei had already given birth to the legitimate eldest son, Pei Yu, who had been appointed as the crown prince, and my earlier words hinted to her that if this child were to be born, even her son's position as crown prince would not be secure. This only strengthened her resolve to eliminate the root of the trouble, so she wrote a secret letter to her family, asking them to send the rare treasures from the family vault into the palace. Jiang Ruowei had 3 older brothers, and she was the only daughter in the family, cherished by everyone from top to bottom. Seeing her request in the letter, the Jiang family complied without hesitation. Before sending them out, they repeatedly cautioned to be careful and discreet, advising that these treasures were best kept in a private collection and must never be revealed to others. On the 3rd day, a small mountain of rare and exotic treasures was piled beneath my statue. Among them, the most precious item was undoubtedly the Shangqing pearl. It was an enormous night luminous pearl. Merely lifting a corner of its lid could illuminate the entire dark room. Even more marvelous was that the patterns inside this precious pearl were interwoven, forming an image of an immortal riding a crane. In all the world, there was only one such pearl, truly a priceless treasure. I curved my lips into a smile. Your Majesty is indeed generous. Deal. When I was 5 months pregnant, I miscarried and gave birth to a stillborn fetus. The midwife took one look at it and instantly fainted from fright. Monster. The fetus was covered in white fuzz all over. Bizarre to the extreme. Thus, rumors about me being a demon consort quickly spread, growing more and more intense, reaching a fever pitch, to the point where even Pei Jing began to waver somewhat. This was exactly what Jiang Ruowei wanted to see. I was so shocked that I remained unconscious for several days. Liu Hua knelt before Pei Jing, tears streaming down her face as she pleaded, Your Majesty, anyone else may doubt Her Majesty, but you must not. This servant can testify. That night, after Her Majesty finished her meal, she went out for a walk to aid digestion. A white fox suddenly darted out on the palace path, which caused Her Majesty to be frightened and miscarry. He did not believe it. How could there be demons running rampant in the palace for no reason? Do not speak of such vague and unfounded matters before me. Yet on the 2nd and 3rd nights, more and more people claimed to have glimpsed the shadow of a white fox. It was enough to strike fear into anyone who heard of it. Some of the palace maids and eunuchs on night duty tried every means to bribe the matrons to get their shifts changed. Pei Jing had been trying to convince himself not to believe it, until he witnessed this scene with his own eyes. One day after court, he came over in his sedan chair, but at the palace gate, he ran into me, transformed into a fox. I felt as if my secret had been exposed. Swiftly turning around, My feet moving like the wind, my body light as an arrow, racing toward the direction of the Empress's palace. After her, he ordered. The guards by the Emperor's side were undoubtedly masters of martial arts. Listening to the footsteps behind me, I gauged the distance, always keeping a measured gap between myself and the guards in pursuit, leading them all the way into the secret chamber in the Empress's palace. Pei Jing saw the secret chamber with his own eyes. A Buddhist shrine, incense, a fox deity statue, and countless rare treasures. These are all treasures presented by the surrounding vassal states as tribute. They should have been first selected and reviewed by the emperor before being bestowed upon other ministers or consorts. Interestingly, he had never seen any of these items before. This indicates that after tallying the tribute from various countries, the officials from the Ministry of Rites first took them to curry favor with the Jiang family before presenting them to the emperor for review. He flew into a rage. I had no idea the Jiang family's power had grown to such an extent. You don't even regard me with respect anymore, do you? Jiang Ruowei's jealousy of the imperial concubines and her use of dark arts to harm the royal heirs are proven beyond doubt, while her father and brothers have long held heavy military power, showing contempt for imperial authority and acting tyrannically. Any one of these offenses alone would be enough to bring severe punishment upon their entire family. Dressed in plain white garments, Jiang Ruowei knelt before Pei Jing, removing her hairpins to await judgment. Your Majesty, I and my father and brothers have always been loyal to you. It was only a moment of foolishness that led us to do such a foolish thing. She wept bitterly, crawling forward on her knees. Has your Majesty forgotten? Back when you were in the Eastern Palace, your position was precarious. If not for my father and brother's unwavering support, back then, when Consort Wei was wrongfully accused and died, Pei Jing was also neglected by the late emperor for many years. His position as crown prince was fraught with anxiety. If it weren't for Jiang Ruowei's determination to marry him, providing him with a solid backing, the one sitting on the throne today might have been someone else entirely. She thought this might rekindle old feelings, but she never expected that Pei Jing would be completely enraged by these words. Don't you dare use this to threaten me. Your father and brothers have controlled military and political affairs for years, colluding with factions, and you in the harem. Do you think I don't know what you've all been doing? Let me tell you, all these years, I've been more than tolerant and lenient enough with your Jiang family. What difference could it make? Even if the Jiang family had shown him the greatest kindness back then, Pei Jing was no longer the crown prince of old, living in constant uncertainty with his position hanging by a thread. Now, he had ascended to the highest throne. How could he bear Jiang Ruowei repeatedly exposing his most painful scars? Jiang Ruowei was deposed and confined to the cold palace, while her father and brother were stripped of their military authority and exiled 1,000 miles away. I am about to take her place and become the new queen. Jiang Ruowei had become somewhat mentally unhinged, grabbing the guards stationed at the cold palace every day to question them. This can't be real, right? The fox demon's magic is so powerful. How could it have been exposed so easily? The guard looked troubled, unsure how to respond. Stop arguing. I stepped into the dilapidated courtyard, rescuing those poor guards who had been entangled by her. You want to know why the plan was exposed? Let me tell you. I revealed my fox ears and tail. She was so shocked her eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets. She sat slumped on the ground for a long while before finally accepting this reality. You really are a demon. So the fox spirit I've been worshipping is actually you too. I nodded happily. Then I delivered another heavy blow to her heart. The material evidence of your father and brother's contempt for imperial authority and their corruption. It was you who handed each piece over to me. I covered my mouth and chuckled. You truly are a wonderful daughter and sister to them. Oh right, didn't you have a nightmare back then? Dreamt that your position as empress and your life would both be ruined by a woman surnamed Shen. Looking at it now, half of that has already come true. How do you know that? She suddenly turned to look at me. Back then, I sought out the most accurate master to divine and interpret the dream. He said that aside from the Shen woman in the dream, no one else could pose a threat to my position, but I had already ordered people to eliminate her long ago. Those who returned to report all said she was completely dead. So why is it still like this? As she spoke, her emotions grew increasingly agitated. That master must have miscalculated. He's nothing but a swindler pretending to be a fortune teller. Those few people, my heart felt pierced by thousands of needles. Tears had long since silently covered my face. A sudden surge of immense malice welled up from the depths of my heart. I spread my fingers wide, manipulating the demonic energy. In an instant, an invisible force wrapped around her neck, tightening and lifting, suspending her in midair. Didn't expect that, did you? The Shunsua you killed back then had a twin sister, me. From the moment we were born, a high monk prophesied that I was the reincarnation of a 1,000-year fox demon, destined to become a calamitous seductress and imperial consort. Watching her struggle desperately, I felt not the slightest sense of satisfaction from avenging a great wrong. Instead, an immense sorrow washed over me. It nearly shattered my heart into dust. I had been living in seclusion, cultivating my spirit in the mountains. The fame and fortune that you humans chase after, I have always held in contempt. If you hadn't killed Shunsua back then, I truly would have spent my whole life chanting sutras and being a good person. But what happened? My dearest, most cherished sister is dead, and I must avenge her on you. Chase, soul, bind, life. The cycle of cause and effect completes its closure at this very moment. After speaking, I released my magical power, slamming her heavily onto the ground. The matter is not yet over. Now is not the time for her to die. Before leaving, I forced a pill down her throat. With this pill, any words that come out of her mouth from now on will sound like incomprehensible gibberish to human ears. After all, the secret that I am a fox demon cannot be known by another soul. The position of Empress, which Jiang Ruowei treasures so dearly that she would rather kill innocents to keep it firmly in her grasp, is something I do not want for a single moment. I was clad in a magnificent phoenix gown, wearing a heavy phoenix crown, my entire body stiff and rigid. It was time to leave. A heartless, scheming troublemaker like me would naturally spare no effort, seizing every last opportunity to secure my own interests with my final breath. So I personally orchestrated a death escape. After the coronation ceremony, I went to the Crown Prince's bedchamber as usual to inquire about his daily meals and clothing. Due to his childhood experiences, Pei Jing was unwilling to let his hatred extend to the innocent. Thus, after the Jiang clan was dealt with, Pei Yu remained seated on the throne as the Crown Prince. The Empress is the mother of all the people in the world, so even though Pei Yu always looked down on me, I still frequently inquired about his daily life. In front of outsiders, I played the part of the loving mother to perfection. Today, my phoenix robe and crown deeply wounded his young heart. He no longer concealed his disgust and hurled harsh words at me, so the palace attendants outside heard our quarrel. Your Highness the Crown Prince, Her Majesty the Queen Mother has always treated you well. How can you speak to her like this? You wicked woman, I hate you. He casually picked up a teacup and threw it at me. I cried out in pain, pretending to lose my balance, and fell sideways, incidentally knocking over the oil lamp and candlestick. The spilled lamp oil spread across the floor and instantly ignited. Flames quickly surged upward, rapidly devouring everything in sight, crackling and popping as they burned. Help, there's a fire. The Empress and the Crown Prince are still trapped inside. By the time the fire was extinguished and I was rescued, I was already on the brink of death. The palace servants who fought the fire said that, in order to protect the young Crown Prince, I had been struck by a falling beam and missed my chance to escape. At this point, there was no hope left. Pei Jing held me in his arms, his eyes brimming with heartache and sorrow. Imagine it, a beautiful, young new empress, dressed in the most splendid brocade robes, dying at the peak of his affection for her, and in her final moments, she was generous and kind, selflessly saving the son of her enemy without holding a grudge. Ah, what could be more devastating than this? I tilted my head at a carefully calculated angle. From this perspective, my hair hung low, my eyes glistened with tears, my skin was pale as paper that could tear at a touch, and the corners of my lips were stained with blood, hauntingly beautiful with a fragile, delicate motion. I raised my hand and cupped his face. Your Majesty, Lingji, Lingji. Pei Jing cried out my name, weeping bitterly in utter despair. I swallowed a mouthful of bloody foam, struggling to speak. To have received your Majesty's love and care in this lifetime is a blessing I have cultivated over 3 lives. Yet now, I still have one wish left unfulfilled. I was originally an orphan, and in my childhood, I was saved by the kindness of the Shun couple. Without them, there would be no Aji today. However, I have also heard that their only daughter unfortunately passed away 3 years ago. Therefore, I wish to ask your majesty for a favor on their behalf." By this point, Pei Jing was already weeping uncontrollably. "Aji's benefactor is also my benefactor. I will bestow fertile fields and beautiful estates upon them, so that the two may live out their remaining years in peace." After settling my final wishes, I felt at ease and faked my death. I detached my soul from my body. Drifting through the sky, witnessing everything that unfolded next at the funeral, Pei Jing made the little prince kneel before my spirit tablet to thank me for saving his life, but to my surprise, he looked at me with utter disgust. In truth, the little prince hated me for being scheming and hypocritical, and he was absolutely right to do so. He was small in stature, making him more agile when it came to escaping. When the fire broke out, if I hadn't held him tightly in my arms, he might have already run out. Unfortunately, he is also just a 3-year-old child. He doesn't know how to endure and bide his time, let alone understand the Emperor's thoughts. He spat toward my spirit tablet with a "Phut, that poisonous woman, I hate her." Pei Jing was immediately enraged and, without further discussion, stripped him of his crown prince position. "I know that because of your mother, you have always held a grudge against the Empress, but don't forget, she has never treated you poorly and is even your savior. Such ingratitude, truly. This child is beyond teaching. Guards, remove his Imperial Jade Register. From now on, I have no such son." The news reached Jiang Ruowei in less than half a day. She had still held on to hope, hoping to live until Pei Yu ascended the throne, to be welcomed out by him and become the Empress Dowager. But she never expected Pei Jing to be so merciless. Not only did he remove his name from the Royal Jade Register, but he also stripped him of his royal status, renaming him Jiang Yu. The pomegranate flower delivered my final words to him. "Jiang Ruowei, oh Jiang Ruowei, watching the person you care about most suffer injustice, unable to speak in their own defense. Now you can finally understand how I felt back then." She stood there in a daze for a long time, then suddenly began to weep and laugh hysterically, as if she had lost her mind. Even though she had taken every precaution, exhausted every effort, why did she still end up losing everything she held most dear? Her husband's favor, the throne of the Empress, the glory of her family. Unable to bear the blow, she completely broke down, and that very night, she dashed her head against a pillar in the cold palace and died. I hovered in mid-air, watching coldly as she breathed her last, miming the words. I silently replied to her, "If you hadn't harbored evil thoughts and mercilessly killed an innocent person, you would never have fallen to such a state today. All of this, all of it, is nothing more than what you deserve." Epilogue. Past life. I recreated a body and returned to the Shun residence as an ordinary maid. My room, right next to my sister's boudoir, had been empty for over a decade. Now that I live here, I have converted it into a Buddhist hall. Every day, I chant sutras before the Buddha. All sentient beings, from time without beginning, have been caught in the cycle of birth and death, all because they do not know the eternal true mind, the pure and luminous nature. They rely on deluded thoughts, and these thoughts are not true, thus they revolve in samsara. Scenes from my past life unfold before my eyes. In my previous life, my sister was not yet the daughter of an official, nor did she have such a poetic and picturesque name as Shintsiue. She was called Ernie. She was an ordinary villager living in a common village at the foot of the mountain. At that time, I was only a little over 1800 years old. One day, while fighting over a spiritual herb, I got into a fierce battle with a mountain spirit that was tens of thousands of years old. Unfortunately, my cultivation was insufficient, and I quickly fell into a disadvantage. Then, just as my strength was exhausted, I fell into a trap set by the villagers. The animal trap clamped tightly onto my hind leg. I gave up struggling and lay down peacefully at the bottom of the pit. I planned to wait until I had recovered some energy before using my magic to escape. Little fox, little fox. Ernie peeked out with half her head, calling out to me over and over, ready to come to my rescue. The terrain around where I was trapped was treacherous. If the rescuer made even the slightest misstep, they could easily fall into the pit as well. Yet, she was clearly terrified to the bone. Yet, I still spoke loudly to bolster my own courage. "Little fox, you must be in a lot of pain, right? Be good, don't move around, I'll come save you right away." While crawling forward cautiously, Ernie was a kind-hearted child, She helped me remove the animal trap, then gathered some herbs, chewed them up, and bandaged my wound just as she was about to release me back into the wild. I spoke, "You saved me, so I am your fox now, you can make 3 wishes." Of me, she was so startled that she fell to the ground with a thud. Why you're a fox demon. Ever since my ancestor Deji single-handedly brought down the Shang dynasty, humans and fox spirits like us have been sworn enemies. I thought she would flee in panic or call a group of villagers to hunt me down. I never expected. Instead, she grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and stuffed me into a burlap sack. "Hurry up and hide. If anyone else finds you, they'll catch you and stew you for dinner." Ernie would always come to see me whenever she went up the mountain to gather firewood. Sometimes she would change the herbal medicine on my leg, sometimes she would feed me a piece of chicken tail, and sometimes she would simply come to chat, curious about what I had been doing every day for the past 1800 years. She made 2 wishes to me. The first was to live a life of abundance, the second is health and safety. As for the third wish, she has been unable to decide for a long time. Every time she comes to see me, she says, "I'll tell you next time." Silly girl. Does she really think I can't see through her thoughts? The reason she has never made the third wish is that she fears once all 3 wishes come true, she will never be able to see me again. Watching her skip away, I chuckled and muttered, "Silly girl. For the third wish, I'll make it for you. I wish you happiness." Days of heavy rain had triggered a flash flood in the mountains. The earth shook and the mountains trembled, mud and sand carrying massive boulders tumbling down. In no time, the entire village would be buried, and the ghosts, monsters, and spirits in the mountains were all busy fleeing. Should I run away too? No, I can't. She wished for my health and safety. I cannot break that promise. I used my demonic power to hold back the mountain flood, and in doing so, I lost 1700 years of cultivation. After this disaster, the villagers no longer harbored hostility toward the fox demon. They revered me as the mountain god, building a temple for me, erecting a statue, and offering incense in my honor. Ernie also became one of my loyal followers. Under her adoring gaze, I devoured 3 large, greasy roast chickens in a row. Then, I finally spoke slowly. To withstand the mountain flood, I lost many years of cultivation and even missed an opportunity to ascend to immortality. So, tell me, what should be done? How will you thank me? Her eyes were sparkling. "I want to be your best friend forever." "No, in the next life, and the life after that, and the life after that, and the life after that, we'll always be best friends." "Okay." I bit into the chicken drumstick and thought for a moment. Well, that works too. Due to my outstanding performance during cultivation, the Fairy Management Bureau made a special exception. I only need to experience 1 more lifetime in the mortal world, and as long as my training is completed perfectly, I can be exceptionally promoted to become an immortal. Fate is truly so serendipitous. In this lifetime, we became twin sisters. Mortals must drink Meng Po's soup to erase their memories before reincarnation, but demons do not. So when we were born together, I knew her, but she did not know me. Not long after, I was sent to Fahua Temple to devote myself to cultivation under a hidden identity. Before the little Shenxiue could climb the mountain alone, the number of times we met was truly few and far between. About every 3 months. The Shun family would go up the mountain under the pretext of burning incense, reuniting as a family of 4. I remember the first words little Shenxiue said to me. Mother pointed at me, teaching her to recognize people. "This is your younger sister. Her name is Lingji. I'm really curious. Would a human without memories still recognize me?" She crawled up to me, opened her arms to hold my head, and mumbled a few words. "Sister, smells nice." Like, I understood. Even though Shenxiue has no memories in this life, deep down, she still has instincts. She instinctively drew close to me, instinctively protected me, instinctively stuffed me into a sack. As she grew older, she could venture into the mountains alone. We started meeting more frequently. She often held me in her arms, wiping away tears. What nonsense about being a fox spirit reincarnated. It's all utter rubbish, to make my little sister suffer like this here. Sob. I looked into her clear eyes and said earnestly, "It's not suffering, sister. Even if I'm confined by my identity and can't be seen, it's truly fine if I spend my whole life in this Fahua temple, eating vegetarian food and reciting Buddhist scriptures. I only wish for your happiness. The 30th year of my life in this new body." Shun's parents passed away peacefully, one after the other. Shinsui's wishes were fulfilled, and she embarked on the path of reincarnation. As for me, my training in this human world has also come to a successful conclusion, and I am about to ascend to immortality for the last time. I used my human body to chant scriptures before the Buddha. All sentient beings, from time without beginning, have been caught in the cycle of birth and death, all because they do not know the eternal true mind, the inherently pure and luminous essence, and instead rely on delusional thoughts. These thoughts are not real, hence the endless turning. My dear sister, whether it be the next life, the life after that, or the life after that, I only wish for your happiness. After hearing the stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.